All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I am your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 186 in full swing, full motion. We are so happy to be here with you guys and for you guys to be here with us. Whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTubing, thank you so much for being here with us, guys. We have a lot of NFL sports in general, but a lot of NFL stuff to get to, in particular with the Chiefs. We have a game that we like to do every single week. We like to reflect on the game previous, and then obviously we give you guys our preview coming up. We're going to have plenty of that. We're going to have our week four NFL picks. We're going to be handing out some L's like we do each and every week. We got a lot for you guys, and we really do appreciate it that you guys are here with us. Happy October, by the way. It's the best month of the year. As you can tell, me and Trevor are rocking our Halloween shirts because this is our favorite time of the year. These are two of our favorite franchise of horror movies out there, and I don't know if any of you guys are looking forward to that new one, man. We don't talk a lot of movies on the show. I'd love to if we started maybe a podcast for talk, TV and movie talk, but this is our favorite time of the year because obviously football's going, NBA's about to get back going, and of course, this is the time when you snuggle up and watch some scary movies when football games are not on. But nevertheless, if you've not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you would be so kind, go ahead and go to our YouTube channel, The Spoken Podcast, and go ahead and like that. And if you guys have any comments, if you guys want to chime in on the show, we're all about that. We'd love it if you guys chimed in on the show. That's what it's all about. We want to have interaction. Hit us up on YouTube, comment on there, let us know what you guys are thinking about what we're talking about. If there's something you want to bring up, feel free to do that. I'm sure you guys are obviously aware that our guy Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, is not here again for the second week. He is actually coming back to town, back to Kansas City, 2 nights. We have missed him big time. He's our guy. We appreciate him. He definitely is a piece to the puzzle that we have to have on a weekly basis. But I feel that Trevor and I like to hold it down. We can hold it down. We're capable of holding it down, and we always appreciate our producer, Clay Windler, for putting all this together on the back end, and we appreciate Starcade Media for allowing us to put our shows out on their platforms as well and team up with them, and we really do appreciate all of you guys as well. But let's get over the pleasantries for a second, man, because we got some hard-hitting, hard-to-discuss topics that we have to address about this Chiefs team because for this last week now, we've had to sit here and stew, Trevor, on a very, needless to say, frustrating loss. And, Trev, guys, I want to put it out here real quick. I'm not going to sit here and harp on it too long. I'm just going to give you guys my take. I was on the Chiefs Concern podcast directly after the game, and I gave you guys my raw, unfiltered, and very on-the-fly takes with my guy Marcus Dash and Jason Dunn. And I'm going to be doing that each and every week after Chiefs games. But I've had a week to really sit on this one, Trevor, and I want to give you my quick thoughts, and I know you're going to have yours as well. And let us again know if you guys have anything on YouTube you want to chime in on the show as well as what you guys thought and saw in that game as well. But Trevor, you remember that comment that I made 3 or 4 years ago when I really understood what the Chiefs were going to be under the Mahomes umbrella when Mahomes took over and what I saw from this team as a whole, and how I said, and a lot of people think it's a cop out, but it's something I still truly believe based upon what we know about the Mahomes era, is the Chiefs the only team that can really beat the Chiefs on any given basis is the Chiefs. And I still believe that because that is exactly, if there was one game over the last 4+ seasons that defined that, it was this week, week 3 against the Indianapolis Colts. Yep. Why is that? And again, I don't want to sit here and take away from anything from the Indianapolis Colts. You guys know, anybody that's been paying attention, our prediction show, I said this was a game the Chiefs were going to lose because I was actually very big on the Colts. So I was trying to give the Colts credit as to why I initially picked them to beat the Chiefs. But if you watch this game, you saw that the Chiefs literally handed this game to the Colts in more ways than one. And this is what's frustrating about this particular game. Not just the fact that the Bills lost, not just the fact the Chargers got destroyed, not just the fact that the Raiders lost another game. The Chiefs could have really gained some ground on some of these AFC opponents, and they did not do that. That aside. But it's the fact that now, and it's such a weird thing, and football, sports in general, have these weird things that happen sometimes where teams just seem to have good luck against an opponent regardless of where those teams are at that current time and place when they play. But I had that stat that our guy Nick Wright used on First Things First where going into Week 3, the Chiefs were 45-1 in games that the Chiefs held their opponents to fewer than 27 points, which is a 99 win percentage. And the only team that had beaten them, that one loss, was the Indianapolis Colts in 2019 when the Chiefs lost to them 19-13. That was a very frustrating game, but there was context to that game. Patrick Mahomes had an ankle injury, and he got stepped on again and re-aggravated. Thank you, Cam Irving. Then we had Tyreek Hill missing. They had Eric Fisher out, their starting left tackle. There was a lot of weirdness around that game. Trevor, you and I were at that game. It was just a very, very weird vibe. That one was on Sunday Night Football as well. Just a really odd game. Now, the Chiefs have lost 2 games like that. And both are to the Colts. And you can't say, well, maybe the Colts just have the Chiefs number. Because 1, that was a completely different Colts team. That was 3 years ago. Yeah. And 2, the Chiefs were a fairly healthy team. Now, they were missing Willie Gay. They were missing Trent McDuffie still. Harrison Butker didn't play. But let's be honest. The Chiefs' defense played insanely good in this game, so it wasn't that the defense was lacking great players and all of a sudden they couldn't get things done.
Defense was good.
The defense was amazing. We'll talk more about that in a second. It was the fact that the Chiefs once again just shot themselves in the foot. That is exactly what happened. Where do we even start here? Special teams was at an all-time low. Dave Toub is widely considered the best special teams coach in the entire NFL. And he's been here since day one with Andy Reid. Since 2013, he's been here with Andy Reid. So Andy Reid obviously trusts Dave Toub. I trust Dave Toub. I criticize him because special teams is supposed to never get in the way. It's kind of like an offensive lineman. You don't ever want to hear their name, and the only time you hear their name is when they commit a penalty, and then you get frustrated. You're never supposed to hear those names. You're never supposed to hear about the special teams. The only thing you want to hear about is they stayed solid or they made a big play, either on the defensive side or on the offensive side of special teams. Well, that was the complete opposite of this game because as we saw from the jump, the Chiefs' defense latched onto the Colts' offense, did not let them do anything from the jump when they deferred and the Chiefs kicked off to them. You saw that the Chiefs' defense was going to do what they wanted whenever they wanted against this limited Colts offense. And then Sky Moore on the punt pins the Chiefs down on the 4 freaking yard line. And the Colts that's the one thing you can't do, because one thing we know about the Colts so far this season, and they can end up being the team that I expected them to be. I don't anticipate that now that we've seen 3 games of them. But maybe the Colts really end up becoming a really good team. But right now, going into that game, they weren't a very good team. Right? They were missing players. They didn't have Shaq Leonard still. He hasn't played all season yet. He's by far their best defender. Yeah. And what can't do in those kinds of games is give those teams second chances to score. And that's exactly what the Chiefs did by Sky Moore muffing that punt and putting the Colts right within the goal line, basically. And then 2 or 3 plays later, they're already up 7-0, and the Chiefs already are down before Patrick Mahomes even gets an opportunity to do what he wants to do. And that's the frustrating part from the very beginning, is the Chiefs already were off on the wrong foot.
Right.
And then you go throughout the game, you see how bad the offensive line was still struggling. I gave them a massive pass against the Chargers because the Chargers going into that game had maybe the best, outside of the Buccaneers, probably the best front 7 in football. They have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. I mean, they have a collection of insane talent, and the Chiefs got them on full display on a short week. So I gave the Chiefs offensive line a little bit of a pass on that one. I was expecting them to play significantly better against a good but not great Colts front 7, especially without Shaq Leonard, and it was anything but that. Patrick Mahomes was around running for his life. I think sometimes Patrick may have held onto the ball a little too long. You can sit here and ask,
refused to check it down.
Yeah, you can talk about the chicken or the egg, where maybe guys weren't creating separation, but according to the All-22s, there were guys that were creating separation. He missed MVS on that throw that would have been a guaranteed house call. That would have been a touchdown right there. That was really the only bad throw I saw from Patrick the entire game. I think he played actually a much better game than what his box score indicated. Yeah. But the offensive line did struggle really bad. You saw Orlando Brown Jr., who now we've heard that he does have an knee injury that he's been dealing with. But he played horrible. He did not play well at all. You saw the front. Trey Smith, I have to imagine. I'm going to give Trey Smith a little credit here because of how great he was his rookie season last year. That ankle still has to be bothering him because he was just getting bodied. I mean, JD from Chief Concerns was talking about that the entire show, about how Trey Smith was just getting pushed around. You don't see that. There has to be something wrong with that, him not being able to plant with that foot. I don't know what it is. All I do know is the offensive line has not been anything close to what we were anticipating, to what most people were anticipating them to be this season. And it's been very frustrating, and I think they played a massive role in this. But two other things that I really want to bring up about how the Chiefs lost this game, and I hate to do it, but I got to call out our guy Travis Kelce here. And he called himself on his new podcast, New Heights, with his brother Jason. He talked about how that is a gimme touchdown. And I think the sun did get in his eyes a little bit because for some damn reason, the Colts have their stadium set up to where in middle of the day, that sun shines right through those little side pockets. And I don't understand why they do that because it looks awful where players are playing in shadows. And I hate when like AT&T Stadium does that for Dallas. It's really frustrating to see because I feel like it can play a pivotal role, but there are no excuses. Travis Kelce has to bring that ball down, because Patrick Mahomes could not have put that ball in a better place. It was a back shoulder throw because the defender was riding Travis Kelce on the right side, so it forces Kelce to adjust his body. The ball was right there, and Travis simply dropped that ball. If he catches that touchdown, the Chiefs are up 2 scores, I think with 8 minutes and like 40 seconds to go. They're going to win that game.
Yeah.
They're going to absolutely win that game. So that's a big reason why the Chiefs lost this game as well. There's something else that I haven't heard enough people talk about, Trevor, that I want to bring up as well that the Chiefs have to own on, is the fact they were 3 for 10 on third downs. That is simply unacceptable for an offense that is as talented as they are, having the coaching staff they have, and not to mention the fact they had 10 days to prepare for this game.
And the fact that we're usually typically one of the best third down teams.
Yes, they were 9 of 20 in the previous 2 weeks. That's almost 50%.
Well, and it's the most frustrating part is it's the third and shorts that we struggle with.
Right.
Because in the trenches we cannot run the ball. That's the most worrisome thing to me is the O-line.
Now, I will say one more thing, and I will clarify. I don't believe this is why the Chiefs lost, but it did play a factor. The officiating absolutely screwed the Chiefs in this game. 100%. I have been going back and forth with folks. I've been posting this stuff ad nauseum. Trevor, under no circumstances can Chris Jones get a flag for that. And if you haven't seen it, if you haven't heard about it, I think it was like a 3rd and 14 with 5.5 minutes to go.
Highly suspect call. Yeah,
3rd and 14, like 5 minutes and some change left. The Chiefs are up. I believe it was Chiefs are up 17-13, and Chris Jones sacks Matt Ryan. They're pinned back, I think, on like their 25-yard line. They're going to have to clearly punt. The Chiefs are going to get the ball back, and the Chiefs are going to win this game. And all of a sudden, Matt Ryan and Chris Jones are standing up, not touching each other. There's no weird body language going on. There's no hold me back, bro. There's none of that shit. You just see them both, by the way, both Matt Ryan and Chris Jones exchange some words, a couple head nods, and then they kind of just part ways. And then Sean Smith, the head judge, the umpire, throws the flag. And he was maybe 10, 15 feet away from the entire action, if you want to call it that. And they say it's unsportsmanlike conduct on Chris Jones, and it gives the Colts second life, just like Sky Moore did in the very first, well, it should have been the first possession of the Chiefs' offense. Just like that, the refs step into the game and make their name known. Just like I said about special teams, you don't want your name being brought up unless you have a house call, 65-yard punt return or a kick return or a blocked field goal or something of that nature. The refs cannot put themselves in the game, Trevor. They're supposed to monitor. They're not supposed to police where they're hitting you with a billy club. They're not supposed to do those things. Yeah. And unless there's something so egregious, and I want to throw it out there, I really hope Matt Ryan and his family are doing okay today, because I cannot imagine how horrible those words were from Chris Jones and him and Matt Ryan exchange. I mean, I hope that Matt Ryan's going to be able to play this week. I think they said he didn't practice all week because of just the mental stress that he took from Chris Jones talking to him that way. I really hope Matt Ryan's okay, man, because this has just got to be really rough on him, for what he had to go through with Chris Jones talking to him. And it just cracks me up because, again, Trevor, the refs have to know that this stuff happens on a snap-to-snap basis.
Yeah, we got dudes shoving each other in between every snap.
I mean, how many times, Trevor, have we seen when Tom Brady and Chris Jones have faced each other over the last 3 years, they've gotten up and they've just chanted at each other. They've been saying shit. No flags.
It's a part of the game.
A part of the game. Yeah. And the ref stepped in and gave the Colts second life, and what do you know? The game-winning drive is that exact same drive, puts up the Colts 7. Now, the Chiefs could have made a stop.
Their only real good drive of the day.
Exactly. The Chiefs could have made a stop, but again, the momentum completely shifted. The defense was winded because they thought they had the game won. Chris Jones has made a massive play. It's all negated. And then the Colts go in there and score a touchdown. Again, the defense could have made a stop, but I'm not going to sit here and crush a defense that, one, made the biggest stop at the beginning and end of the game, and then, two, only put up allowed 13 legitimate points to begin with.
And gave Patrick Mahomes numerous times to put up points, and our offense was just not getting it.
Yeah, so those are the collection of frustrations I have because, again, those are things that caused this game. It was not that the Colts played some incredible game because they didn't. I was not impressed by the Colts offense. I think their defense played all right, but I think it had a lot more to do with what the Chiefs didn't do and how they didn't execute, how horrible their special teams was. I didn't even mention the fact, Trevor, on 4th and 10, they faked a field goal. The fact that Eric Bieniemy took the ball essentially out of Patrick Mahomes' hands at the end of the end of the first half. Yeah. There were so many just frustrating decisions being made by the coaching staff. A coaching staff I give so much praise to and credit to as the best in the league. This was just an absolute clunker. For some damn reason, we seem to have games like this on almost a damn near annual basis under the Andy Reid era. But that's also a reason why I'm not worried, Trev. Because I also know that this is what this team does. And it's frustrating, and I hate it, but they do it like every year. We're like, how did you lose that game? How did you really give that game to that opponent? And it's weird that it's the Colts on a more normal basis than it's not. But the fact remains, and by the way, AFC South, it's really weird how the Chiefs lose weird games to AFC South teams. It's just an odd thing. But the biggest reason why I'm not worried moving forward is because I know the Chiefs can do better. It wasn't that they got blown out. It wasn't they looked lost out there. It was the fact they just didn't execute. And I know that this team always brings it back. Yeah. In the Patrick Mahomes era, Trevor, they're 10-3 after losses. And Patrick Mahomes averages 286 yards. I think he has 33 touchdowns to 9 interceptions after a loss. They're going to bring it. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. They're going to get refocused. I just hate the fact that sometimes this has to happen in order for them to really get that focus back.
Yeah, I mean, I blame you 100% for picking the Colts at the beginning of the year. Regardless of bad team or not. These are the teams that we tend to lose to, though. It's never like a team that can go toe-to-toe with us scoring points. Granted, like we can look back on that Rams game, but most teams that try to outscore the Chiefs that's a losing battle most of the time. Most of the times we struggle, the teams that slow down the game, allow us to beat ourselves, and that's what we did. And that's the most frustrating thing because we know that that's a possibility. The only real way that we lose is by beating ourselves, and that's what we did. We went out there and then we had all these blunders on special teams. But I mean, I'll use an analogy. It's just like, for me, it's just like MMA or boxing. You know, don't let the match go to the judges. And never should a game hinge on one call, one penalty. And that's what we did. We should have won this game by 20-plus points. Yep. Patrick Mahomes in this offense just did not execute right. We looked off from the jump. Our offense never looked right this entire game. Whatever points we scored was out of sheer will. And we barely put up, it's just a very lackluster performance overall. I think our defense was the best part of the game. I think our defense played really, really well. Granted, I think Matt Ryan is washed right now. He looks pretty washed this year. And the Colts might be a bad team moving on to the rest of the year. They could be, that's a solid defense, but that offense might be bad. And we let them march down and put that game away, which is really frustrating. But, Travis Kelce did something he never really does. He drops a pass in the end zone. A call was made that doesn't ever really typically, if ever, get called in such a time, late in the game like that. So a lot of things, and then, a rookie muffing the punt just to put them right on the 3-yard line, set them up for early scores to set the tone for the game. Everything was off. We're on the road and a good crowd, good home field advantage there. It was just a lot of things that it was the whole game felt off. It did not feel like a typical Chiefs game. There was no real energy in the offense. And it is frustrating right now with the way that Patrick is playing right now. He's not checking it down. He needs to be able to kind of reel it in sometimes. And granted, testing the defense deep is always necessary. Yeah. Especially when you have Patrick Mahomes throwing the football. He's off on those too. So when those aren't hitting, we got to try to reel it in a little bit and try to get, because we got playmakers. There's a couple times where Clyde's wide open in the flat. Check it down to Clyde. Clyde's been playing very well this year. Why would we go away from him? Yeah. He had 7 carries for 0 yards.
Right.
The fact that
And
we're
still
not
managed to score a touchdown. That's the weirdest
Well,
thing.
yeah, I know, right? It was a very strange and odd game, and those are the ones we lose. We never get our asses kicked.
Right.
The Chiefs, since Patrick Mahomes has been here, even when Alex Smith was here, we rarely got our asses kicked because Andy Reid's we're always in the game. But when we lose games, it's really frustrating ones like this where we had every reason to win.
Yeah.
But we let it come down to some stupid thing, some random thing that happens, or a special teams issue or something like that. We were definitely missing Butker this week. That was definitely a game where Butker was missed. We had no faith in Amendola to kick those field goals. It was the little things that cost us this week. Granted, I'm not worried about our offense as much as I talk about Patrick Mahomes needing to check it down. I think he's going to get it together. We always rebound well, and we'll revisit the film. Obviously, I'm sure Patrick was frustrated with himself looking at the film and the way the game ended, on the interception, which was a strange play. Risky throw. Well, we need our receivers also to get separation.
Right.
A lot of guys aren't out there. I'm pretty sure McColl's still a little banged up.
He is. He definitely is.
I think he had that ankle issue still. Juju needs to get it together. He had a decent game, but we need to see some more out of Juju. Travis Kelce can't always be the guy week in, week out. Granted, he's going to be most weeks because he's that great. But when teams defenses start crunching down on him and doubling him and things like that, we need somebody else to step up.
Yeah.
He had a few catches, maybe his best game so far this year, but he still was very, lackluster. Wasn't anything impressive. Nothing yards after the catch. But Pat's looked a little shaky these last couple of weeks offensively with his throws and deep throws. I know these are new bodies out here, and things will catch on. But that was my main concern is the offensive line, though. In the trenches, we're not able to get short yardage to convert first downs on 3rd and shorts.
Yeah.
We have more success on 3rd and 10 plus than we do 3rd and 3s. That's unacceptable.
Right.
We can't have that, man. And as good as this O-line is, we've got to be able to. And we were pretty good at run blocking last year. We got to get that back.
They've been this year. Just guys aren't finding holes. Clyde, you saw Patrick Mahomes literally pointing.
That's
Clyde hit that. I think it was the B gap. He's like,
Yeah.
hit that, man,
Yeah.
and he goes and tries to run around the C gap, and he just gets clustered, man.
Yeah.
So I want to respond to what you're saying because I feel like we're both making the same point in our own way from our own avenues here. We're meeting at the same place. Think about it like this, and I know Chiefs fans are frustrated about this game, but I really hope, because I know every time, because it's only happened 14 times in almost 5 years where the Chiefs lose with Patrick Mahomes. Oh my God, is there something to be worried about? Guys, I'm telling you right now, unless I'm proven wrong in these upcoming weeks, there is nothing to really be worried about. And guys, look, I'm the dude that's been known as the hater back in the Alex Smith era and previous times, and I'm not trying to go like a full other side where I'm just a complete homer, but I can contextualize it, because as Trevor and I are both breaking this down right now, listen to everything we're talking about as to why the Chiefs lost this game. It's all fixable things that if they would have just done one of those things correctly, they win this game. Think about it. If Harrison Butker, if the Arizona Cardinals actually gave a shit about their field, the Chiefs have Harrison Butker in this game. He doesn't miss that chip shot field goal. He makes the PAT. The Chiefs win. Think about it. That's 4 points right there. They lost by 3. Travis Kelce doesn't drop the touchdown. He makes that catch 99 out of 100 times. They win by 3 or 4 still. Yeah. Right? All these other things, the fake field goal. You kick the field goal with Butker, you get 3 points. We're talking about. I had the Chiefs winning this game 31-16. Guess how many points the Chiefs would have made if they'd done these things the right way? 31 points. It's that simple. They left 14 points on the field in that game. Hell, you can even go further if Eric Bieniemy doesn't want to step in the toes of Patrick Mahomes at the end of the first half and lets him do his thing. Who's to say the Chiefs don't score another touchdown? And bringing up the fact about Patrick Mahomes and these new weapons. See, this is, again, why Patrick Mahomes is sometimes, his standard is so high, he becomes his own detriment sometimes in the way he's viewed, because he's so great consistently that when he's not great, people start to, I don't know. He really is starting to miss Tyreek Hill. Again, the Chiefs left at least 14 points on the field. That had nothing to do with missing Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes missed MVS on a touchdown. Travis Kelce misses it, drops a touchdown. Multiple special teams errors that add to the Colts scoring total. That has nothing to do with Tyreek Hill. In fact, I had a guy on Twitter that said this to me and it made total sense. The Chiefs missed Harrison Butker far more than they missed Tyreek Hill in this Week 3 loss. Far more. Would it have been nice to have Tyreek Hill? Yes. The Chiefs probably win with Tyreek Hill on the field. But the point remains that there were things that the Chiefs could have done in this game without Tyreek Hill. They win this game handily by double digits. And again, to the whole about Patrick Mahomes being his own standard, sometimes his own detriment, I think because of the fact that they went out there week 1 and just destroyed the Cardinals with these new weapons. Yeah. And then they had a close game with the Chargers, who are a team that dedicated their whole offseason to build their team to beat the Chiefs. Chiefs still scored 27 points, and then they go out there and have a clunker against the Colts. People are now looking at it and go, man, I don't know. But see, the thing about it is because Patrick Mahomes was so great in week 1, we forget that these are new weapons. And it's going to take a while. We're still in the first month of these guys playing together. It's going to take a few games for them to really start clicking on all cylinders. But you know what? I have absolute faith that's going to happen because I know who Andy Reid and this coaching staff and Patrick Mahomes are. It's still having Travis Kelce still very much in his prime out there. We hear people foolishly saying shit like, this is starting to look like, the late Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers days. That's a complete overreaction. I don't even have to go back to history. Just look at the currents. The fluidity of this offense is far greater than anything we saw in the Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers era, let alone the end of it.
I mean, the fact that we were back-to-back Super Bowl appearances and one game away from going to a third.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to go to the history.
What are we talking about?
Because you go to the history, it destroys that entire take. So that's just a complete overreaction, a complete just dumb take. That's just a dumb take. And this season's going to show that as well. You got to give them time to do that, guys. And again, once Harrison Butker's back, these special teams blunders are... Guys, Harrison Butker, I think right now has the second or third all-time field goal percentage. All-time. When he gets back, because no matter who you bring to replace him, it's going to be a drop-off. Yeah. But Amendola decided to shit down his leg at the worst time imaginable.
In a dome.
In a dome, with no wind, no real... it's just beyond frustrating, and I get it, guys, but I really hope that no one looks at this game and says, oh, God, man, I'm worried, man. No, there's nothing to be worried about, guys. And again, with the offensive line, as pissed off as I am about them, and I gave them a pass in week 2, and I don't give them a pass in week 3, Trev, I have to believe that Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith, and even throwing even Andrew Wiley in there, I have to believe those guys are going to start playing good because those guys are great at football. I mean, they have 3-4 Pro Bowlers on that offensive line. I have to believe those guys are going to get better as the season goes on. Do I like what I've seen so far? No. Yeah. But Patrick Mahomes, to their credit, Patrick Mahomes has only been sacked twice this season. So I'm going to give these guys some belief here and some credit here. Do I, in the heat of the moment, get upset? Yes. We're fans. It happens.
That was an unacceptable loss.
It was an unacceptable loss. Yeah. But that loss is at the hands of the Chiefs, not the Colts.
Of course.
The Colts didn't go out there and just whoop the Chiefs.
Right.
Like you said. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have to literally concede the victory. And that's not taking, again, away from the opponent. The opponent did what they had to do to win. They capitalized on the advantages.
And they're a desperate team with their back against the wall. That was a desperate win. That was like a playoff game for them.
That's why I said the Colts are going to go out there and do their best.
Of course.
I didn't expect Sky Moore to put them on the 4-yard line.
Yeah, and I think I'm not using this as some kind of moral victory or anything like that, but I think the main thing to take away from it is our defense has been really, really good through 3 weeks, and our offense is going to figure it out. So when both things are and our defense is banged up right now. We got starters out on this defense right now, and our defense is still looking really, really good. Getting after the quarterback, Chris Jones still played really well. Frank Clark got a sack. There was things that were, and then Karlaftis, say what you want about him. If you watch this film, he was pressuring nonstop. He hasn't got his sacks yet, but he's helping out on the other end. There's a reason Carlos Dunlap and Frank Clark are looking good right now, especially in that game. They both were all over the place, and Karlaftis is a force on the other end. But our defense is looking good. So once the offense really starts clicking, which it will, it's not this offense is not going to struggle like it has these last couple weeks. Patrick's going to start lighting it up once we get this thing clicking. And some of it, I think some of it is play calling right now. I didn't like the game plan much. I thought it was a very just all over the place play calling wise this past game. So I think that's something to take away from this game is that the fact that our defense is continuing to look really, really good. And once we get McDuffie back, who was not even targeted when he was playing, that's a good sign. So when we get a possibly really, really top-end rookie defender back on this roster, moving forward, this defense, and once the offense clicks in, we're going to end this season well, man.
And I have to address it because everyone's been addressing it, and it's been something that has been a talking point from the national level all the way down to local level to us. The fact that for the second time in just their last 4 games, we've seen Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes go at it. Again, it may not be as dramatic as people made it sound. Obviously, there was a disagreement, so I'm not going to say they were throwing blows. They clearly weren't.
It happens.
That is something that I think is fair to pay attention to. Am I sitting here saying that there's some, mutiny going on or that, Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy hate each other? No, I don't believe that. But what cracks me up is, see, Arrowhead Pride dropped an article this week talking about this, that they have an Eric Bieniemy problem. And I made a post, and I put it out there, and I stand by everything I said, that there is a legitimate Eric Bieniemy problem here. And I'm somebody, dude, that we have this on record. I have tweets. I have video evidence of us all saying here that we believe Eric Bieniemy should have been given a head coaching opportunity years ago.
100%.
I think he still deserves it because the dude has been leading the best offense over the last 4 years as the OC, who's been calling plays. Andy Reid obviously gives him the game plan, but Eric Bieniemy's the one that's been coordinating the offense. So we got to give him credit, too. We can't sit here and just bash him when the offense looks bad. We have to give him credit, too. So to some degree, Eric Bieniemy deserves credit for what they've put on the field on a consistent basis and for the success they've had. But as I said in this offseason, I thought that this is the right time for both sides to go opposite directions because, to Eric Bieniemy's credit, if he's trying to get a head coaching job, I think he needs to get out of the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid umbrella to show what he can do with a team that doesn't have an elite head coach, an elite quarterback leading the way. I wanted to see that for him. And also, I wanted to see the Chiefs have a little bit more of a fresh set of eyes, somebody that I think that could, like Matt Nagy. I think that there was a reason why they brought him back. He went out there, had head coaching experience, came back, and I think he has a fresh view of what he wants to do with an offense. And I think that Matt Nagy inevitably will be the OC for this team and potentially maybe the head coach for this team in the next 4 or 5 years.
Possible.
I think that is possible. He's only 41, 42 years old. I think he could be that success for Andy Reid. We can discuss whether that's the right idea or the right decision or not. That's for another time because I don't think Andy Reid's going anywhere anytime soon. But I do believe Eric Bieniemy is. And it's so, you can't tell me there's a coincidence that the Chiefs gave Eric Bieniemy back-to-back one-year deals and did not announce it. You can't tell me. The Chiefs are too calculated of a franchise to not do that on back-to-back years and tell me that he's a guy they have 100% confidence in, they want to have here for the foreseeable future. If that's the case, why did you not, first of all, give him long-term deals? And why didn't you announce it? Because they announced when Matt Nagy came back as the Chiefs quarterback coach. They announced it when they gave Andy Reid and Brett Veach simultaneous extensions in 2020. So if that's the case, if you're doing that, why don't you announce it about Eric Bieniemy? It's all been very weird. And again, you have not seen Patrick Mahomes have those types of disagreements with literally anybody else.
Well, and the fact that Andy Reid had to separate the two of them is just a bad look.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of who was right or wrong in the situation, I mean, it's just a bad look for the way and the fact that we lost the way we did. Granted, look, I know how it feels to be a competitive person and be hot-headed in the moment. I'm very much like that whenever I played sports or in a lot of things that I do when I'm competitive. So I get it. Being a competitive person, I can imagine being at the elite level these guys are. So when there's a disagreement between, the coordinator and the quarterback, I tend to side with the player most of the time because that no one knows themselves more than themselves. But sometimes, you got to reel in. This is the topic that nobody really wants to talk about, right? The Eric Bieniemy situation, because it has been a little strange and tense for the last couple seasons. We did think he was for sure going to get a job somewhere, but he didn't end up getting a job. Not sure why, all the reasons. We can speculate on why. But, he's here. We've silently, cryptically, or discreetly brought him back here, for 2 straight seasons under, a simple contract for 1 year extension. So my trust is in Andy Reid. If he thinks he needs to be the guy to be here, but we've also seen Andy Reid keep guys around that shouldn't have been stuck around for more than an extra year or two.
Right.
So, the guys like Bob Sutton, obviously he kept around too long. So this could be another situation like that, or it could just be a simple, situation where, the game's rough right now and the offense is struggling, Pat's frustrated, everyone's, tensions are high. So
Well, Trevor, wouldn't you agree? Like, to me, it looks like this, and this is just my theory. I'm not going off of any real source material or anybody's giving me any real insight. I do have insight on this situation,
right?
But what I'm going off of this is my own theory. It looks to me like, because it's working still. Like, Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes are making it work. But I feel like there are two people that have fundamentally grown apart. I feel like Eric Bieniemy has an idea of what he wants to do with the offense, and then Patrick Mahomes has a completely different idea. I know they're painting it as, well, Patrick he's an ultimate competitor. He always wants to try to go and score.
Of course.
Yeah, but that's You both should want that.
That's what makes him great, though.
I get that you want to rein it in.
instinct.
Yeah, you want to rein it in and protect himself from himself sometimes. And I know he took a hit in the previous play. I get that. I appreciate them protecting him because I'm team protect Pat. I'm all about that. My point, though, is in the heat of a game, when Patrick knows the offense is struggling and he wants to do something to get them ignited, I have a feeling that's the way to do it. You know why I know that? Because he's the reason why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Not just because he's a great player, but do you remember the most famous play of that game? Who decided to ask for the chip wasp?
That's what I'm saying. I tend to follow the players' feel on those.
Who called that? Was it Eric Bieniemy? No, it wasn't Andy Reid either. It was Patrick Mahomes. He asked, "Do we have time to run wasp?" He's the one that came up with that. So no offense to Eric Bieniemy, because again, he deserves credit for the success they have.
Of course.
But it's Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day that you need to trust. And that's why it's frustrating when you see on 4th and 10, they decide to not only go for a field goal, but a fake field goal and have Tommy Townsend throwing the ball, running the opposite direction of how he throws. If you're gonna go for it, put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. Quit fucking around.
Yeah.
Give it to him.
Well, and if you remember last year, our offense was struggling midseason. Remember, we were kind of having a little lull there, and then it took one little play at the end of a half or at the end of a game when Patrick rolled out and found Tyreek on a dart. Remember, and that kind of got the. And then, remember, Nick Wright and everyone was like, "Oh, is that the play?" Because we were really struggling. We couldn't find a rhythm offensively for a few weeks there. Yeah. And that play was kind of what sparked the rhythm, kind of got the juices flowing, and kind of got Patrick back in his zone. Yeah. Because we were out of it for a minute, and an extra play before the half, if he hits a deep shot, whether it scores or not, but he connects on a deep shot. It is like when you're a putter, when you're putting in golf, you see one go in, or you're a shooter, and you're shooting threes, and you see one go in. Yeah. That can spawn a whole chain reaction of just a zone you get into.
It's literally what happened against the Texans.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the same kind of thing that happens, and we've seen Patrick Mahomes get into those zones and be out of the zone as well. So this whole game was just so the momentum was swayed right off. With that muff punt, the whole game the momentum was swung. So I think Pat was just really trying to find one play to kind of get him reeled back in and connect with somebody. And I think that's what he was really wanting there, whether it was score or not, but just to finally connect with somebody, maybe MVS on a deep ball or McCall on a deep ball, finally connect, because he hasn't really been connecting all year on those yet. He's going to, but he hasn't really caught on with those yet. So I think that was something that he really wanted. And look, that was my objective view when I was talking about the whole Bieniemy scuffle. Yeah. As a fan, I don't want any hindrance with Patrick Mahomes. If someone's causing issues and someone's butting heads at him consistently, we all know whose side we're on as fans. We want what's best for the talent, and we want what's best for the guy that we know is going to be our guy for the next decade plus. Yeah. I don't want anyone getting in the way of that, no matter who the name is.
And this is something we have to consider about when it comes to the Eric Bieniemy not getting a head coaching job. This is something that now has to be considered, because you don't think for a second these NFL teams are looking at it and going, okay, does he and Patrick Mahomes stand on the side? Are they in unison? I know to the media they'll say, "Oh no, everything's good, everything's fine."
Well, apparently the Kansas City Star thinks Patrick Mahomes is.
Well, we'll get to that in a second too. But I think that franchises are looking at that and saying, "Okay, look." Because every franchise's goal is to have two things, and the Chiefs have both. Yep. To have a top-tier head coach and a top-tier quarterback. If you're going to put Eric Bieniemy in a position to succeed, that means you're going to put him in a position to have a really good quarterback. Are these franchises looking at this and saying, him and Patrick Mahomes, they have some issues. Do we really want to put Eric Bieniemy's? Do we want to put our trust in Eric Bieniemy to handle a franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future? I think that's something that these teams are maybe considering. And again, I'm somebody that wants to see Eric Bieniemy get that opportunity, because I think he's done more than proven it. Because if clowns like Nathaniel Hackett and Josh McDaniels are getting jobs as head coaches, Eric Bieniemy should have gotten one years ago.
He'd be thriving in Denver with that
roster.
He's
significantly better at his job than those guys. I think Josh McDaniels is a really good play caller, but if I had to give you my confidence of who I'd rather have as my head coach, it's Eric Bieniemy. It's without question. Because although Eric Bieniemy's never been head coach, Josh McDaniels has, and he sucks. So I would much rather have an Eric Bieniemy. So this isn't coming from a nasty place or anything like that. It's just putting everything together, piecing it all together, and looking at it for what it is. That's the way I see it. That's the way Trevor sees it, and I know everyone's been talking about it, and it's something that's a very hot topic, and I think it will go away eventually. But if there are things like this where you can just tell that they are not on the same page, then I have to continue to bring it up and say that maybe they're just fundamentally growing apart, and it's probably a good idea that the Chiefs get out of the Eric Bieniemy business sooner rather than later, because we all know Patrick Mahomes is going nowhere, and if Andy Reid wants to continue to win, it's going to be on the coattails of Patrick Mahomes and how he plays. And if Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes aren't seeing the field and seeing the execution the same way, then maybe you need a fresh set of eyes to run your offense, and I do believe that's going to be Matt Nagy after this season, but we'll see how that goes. But I actually want to move to our NFL picks, Trevor, our NFL Week 4 picks. There's some pretty good games. It feels like there's been great great slate of games each and every week. The NFL does really good with their scheduling. I do want to start with the London game that's going to be really early at 8:30 a.m. Central Time here in Kansas City, out there in London. It's the Vikings and the Saints. Now, initially, this was a game I was very much looking forward to all season because from the beginning of the season, because I had both these teams obviously making the playoffs and being 11-win teams going into the playoffs from the NFC side. Both teams have been pretty clunky to this point, in particular the Saints. It's more to do with their injuries than anything else. I think they're a really good team. They've just been hampered by injuries. It looks like Jameis Winston's not going to play in this game. It looks like Andy Dalton's going to lead the way. And it looks like there's just a string of injuries on the Saints side of things. It does look like Dalvin Cook won't be playing for the Vikings either. So there's that. Michael Thomas, thank you. That was the other injury I was looking for. Yep. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of injuries to some key players in this game, which is going to lead me to believe that I think that the Vikings are going to take care of business in this one. I think the Saints are going to keep this one close because I think Andy Dalton will play well enough because the Vikings defense hasn't been as great as some maybe anticipated them to be this year. They've been good, not great. I think Andy Dalton can do enough to maybe get this game close, but I see this one being like at the end of the game, I can see like a 24-14 kind of game, something like that, 21-13, something like that. It's going to be a very low-scoring game. I think Justin Jefferson's going to be the player of this game. I think he's going to be the one that has a big touchdown that decides who wins this game or not.
It's a tough secondary, man.
It's going to be a tough secondary, but I think Justin Jefferson might be the best receiver in football right now.
Shut down by Darius Slay.
Yes, he did. He absolutely did. But he did score the game-winning touchdown, though. I think it was if I'm not mistaken, Justin Jefferson caught the game-winning touchdown last week to put them up 28-21. So I think that Justin Jefferson will do enough to get them this victory. I'm going to pick the Vikings. I believe the spread right now is Vikings -3. I have them covering that. I think the Vikings win.
Yeah, I'm actually going Saints here. I think Andy Dalton. Because, look, man, Jameis, say what you want, he looked decent for a quarter in week 1, but he has not really been good this year. And that's a really good defense still in my mind. I still think that defense, the defensive line has been struggling. They haven't really been getting as much pressure as they typically do. But I trust the coaching over there, to get that defense ready against this. Because say what you want about Kirk Cousins, but this to me feels like a primetime game. It basically is, right? It's a national game where everyone's watching you, just you. This is outside of the main slot. And primetime Kirk is a thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Terrible.
Yeah, he is.
When all eyes on him, and now it's outside of the country. It's like not that is a real added pressure or anything, but I just feel like this spot is a spot where the grittiness of a team wins, and I feel the Saints are the more gritty team. And the Dalvin Cook injury, in my mind, it's more of a wash for me because I think Alexander Mattison is arguably one of the best, if not the best, backup running backs in the league. He plays a very similar style to Dalvin Cook. They almost look like the exact same guy out there sometimes, so you can't really tell the difference. Dalvin Cook's great, but I think Alexander Mattison is definitely right up there with him skill-wise. But, I mean, yeah, you got Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, another third receiver that's been coming around and playing more of a pivotal role. Irv Smith is a solid tight end for them. But this is a stout secondary still for the Saints, and I think they can cover these guys pretty well. I think if they have a bracket on Justin Jefferson a little bit, he's shown he can falter to some. I thought he was uncoverable. Honestly, I think he's arguably one of the best, if not the best receiver in football. But Darius Slay kind of showed that otherwise, and that Eagles team kind of maybe put out a formula to kind of bracket and keep Justin Jefferson under wraps. So I can see the Saints maybe going a similar way, but I think the Red Rifle. I think Andy Dalton can have a solid game. Alvin Kamara is playing, and Jameis Winston doesn't really know how to play with Alvin Kamara, and it's shown in the sample size that they play together. He doesn't know how to get the ball to him in the passing game, and that's where Kamara thrives.
Yeah,
and I can see Kamara eating in the passing game, and the dink and dunk, and that's kind of where this Vikings team struggles. The underneath stuff, and you get Alvin Kamara going in the underneath game, he will make things happen. And I think the Saints do just enough to pull off this win. I think they win outright. I think they win by more than 3. I think this defense plays really, really well. And I think, once again, Kirk on a primetime. It's not necessarily primetime, but it basically is a primetime spot. I just see Kirk falling flat here, man.
Here I was.
Both these teams are looking this week 5 as 2-2 teams.
And here I was saying I was never going to pick Kirk Cousins in a primetime game.
It's basically primetime.
And it's basically primetime. You're right. Yeah, the whole nation, and quite frankly, the whole world could be watching this one.
Right.
God damn it. You're right. Gosh, you made a good point on that one.
I just think the Saints need to bounce back from that. That was a terrible performance last week against the Panthers.
Well, and then I want to move to another an AFC matchup. It's actually a AFC South matchup. The Colts are hosting the Titans. Colts are 3.5-point favorites in this one. I told you guys from the beginning I did not believe in the Titans at all this year. I'm a big Derrick Henry fan. I like Mike Vrabel a lot. But the Titans are a team that just, to me, are just going to have no consistency whatsoever. And after beating the Raiders last week in a very frustrating fashion for the Raiders, it ended up being a closer game than it probably should have been.
The Raiders' ass.
They were beating them. The Raiders did kind of climb back a little bit, but yes, you're right. They owned up, and which is why I believe, which is why I believe that the Titans going on the road to a divisional foe against a team that's coming off a big win that's big for them. The Colts are got their first win. I think that now that the Colts are getting a little healthier, I think Shaq Leonard might actually play in this game.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that the Colts are going to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I don't think they cover. I think it'll be a 3-point game. I could see it being 17-14, something like that. It's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. I think Matt Ryan's going to get pressured a lot, even though the Titans still don't have Landry. He'll be out all season. I think this will be one of those games where they both know each other so well. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, both running the ball possession by possession. Not a lot of scoring, field goals maybe, but I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, and I think the Colts come out to win and win their second straight game.
This game is going to suck. I don't like this matchup at all. It's going to be boring as hell. I would take the under on this game. Two offenses that are struggling right now, and but I think there's something wrong with Jonathan Taylor right now. I think the toe. He's been dealing with a toe. They've been saying toe every week, and they've just been putting it on the injury report. But I think he's dealing with some turf toe. We all know as a running back, that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
That can affect your whole entire foot. It can make it planting on that foot very difficult, very painful. You can give him all the medicine you want, but once that fades, it's just I think he has not looked like the Jonathan Taylor we know this year. And that's supposed to be a really good O-line. The O-line has not been that great at protecting Matt Ryan. Look, I think the Titans win this game. This is the kind of game I think the Titans win. This is what it comes down to coaching for me, and I think Mike Vrabel is going to have some schemes to get after Matt Ryan, make him very uncomfortable. I mean, the Chiefs were doing that just as well, and I think this is a game where this is a perfect way for the Titans to follow up that gritty win against the Raiders. With Derrick Henry kind of started getting going in that game, he looked pretty good. This is a stout defensive front, obviously for the Colts as well. They can definitely get after Derrick Henry and maybe possibly stop him as well. But I think I'm taking the QB matchup. I'm taking Tannehill in this one. I think Tannehill he bounced back and played a good game against the Raiders. Looked much better than he did in that blowout against the Bills. That was just a game that got out of hand fast.
Yeah.
The Bills are incredible. So, this is an ugly game. Not much to really add to it. I think this is just a game where both teams are trying to run the ball. Both teams are trying to do the exact same thing to each other, play good defense and run the ball, get out with a W. And I think I trust Mike Vrabel and Tannehill at this point more than I do Reich and Matt Ryan. So I think the Colts are bad still. I think they're a bad team, and I think the Chiefs really, really lost to a bad team last week, and it was a rough one. I think the Titans are just a little bit better than them. They're both bad teams right now, but I think they're just enough better. I know this is a road game. This is a home game for the Colts. But I just don't. I have not seen anything impressive at all from the Colts at all. Nothing impressive.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor's dealing with a toe injury and he's not doing good. They haven't been using Naheem Hines very well. He's a deadly weapon, but they have barely used him at all this year. Maybe they do this week and he's a reason they win. But I'm taking the Titans in just a drag out fight here.
Then potentially the game of the week. The Eagles are hosting the Jaguars. Let me just go ahead and say the Jaguars are much better than I thought they'd be this year. I thought they were a year away.
They're fun, man.
I love what Doug Peterson's already done with Trevor Lawrence. You can see that he's speeding him up.
Yep.
He isn't holding the ball too long. He's getting the ball out of his hands, protecting him, and I think that's the perfect thing for a young quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. He's accessing all that talent that he has, and it's really shown already. But I think the Eagles are going to win this game. And obviously being at home is going to help, but I think the Eagles are just simply the better team. I think they have the best wide receiver duo in the league right now. I think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I think they've just been unbelievably effective this year. And Jalen Hurts right now, outside of Lamar Jackson, is the MVP of the league. I really, he's
Arguably
been
most
so
improved player too.
damn. Yes, and I think that's without question.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he also is the only player, I think, in his first 3 games to start a season has 900 passing yards and over 100 rushing yards.
He's incredible.
Like it's stupid what he's doing. Yeah. So Jalen Hurts, to me, I really appreciate what the Jaguars' defense is. They've looked really, really good so far this season.
But they haven't played anybody.
They haven't played an offense nearly as good as the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are going to put that on display. I think this is actually a high-scoring game. The over-under is surprisingly low. It's 45.5. I think this is going to be over 50 points because I think both offenses can get it. I really do. I think actually the Jaguars will be one of the Eagles' real challenges this season because if you look at the rest of the Eagles' schedule, it's not difficult at all.
Right.
They have the easiest schedule in football, and I don't think it's going to. I think this is going to be one of their tougher games. But I think the Eagles win this game like 38-34, 38-31, something like that. Because I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jags can go and get some points in this game. It's supposed to be a nice day in Philadelphia, but they're 6.5-point favorites. I think they do cover that, and I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I would love to see Doug Peterson go and get that victory in Philadelphia with his statue just outside of it. I think that the Jaguars, although they're better than what I anticipated, I'm still not ready to give them that crown as this team that's going to make the playoffs. I want to see them get through a first month of the season, see what they do at bounce back after a loss like this. And I think they do lose this week, and hopefully they can bounce back because I'm rooting for them. I think they can be a really good team this year, but I think the Eagles are just simply the better team. And our guy Eddie Ortiz might nail that prediction with the Eagles at 14-3. They win this game, move to 4-0. Everything's looking good for the Eagles.
Yeah, I believe I gave the Jags like 6 or 7 wins on our prediction show, but I'm in on the Jags right now. I think they win the division. I think they finish this season and win this division. I think they've proven that the Colts are not. I mean, they goose-egg them. I mean, we can talk about the Colts starting slow, but you goose-egg somebody, that's a statement.
Yeah.
Period. I love Trayvon Walker. That's my defensive rookie of the year pick at the beginning of the year, so we'll see how that plays out. But him and Josh Allen on the edge, man, that defensive line has been getting after people. And that secondary has been playing well. But granted, they played a banged-up Justin Herbert. And they haven't, the Texans, I believe, is that who they played who they played week one?
The Colts did. The Colts played the Texans first week.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this Jags team hasn't really had much true challenge going against any elite offenses, but now they're going against one of the best teams, let alone offenses. So that Eagles defense is going to be a problem probably for Trevor. So we'll see how Doug Peterson schemes. He knows Philly well. Granted, there's been a lot of schematic changes and coaches changes going on, and this is a whole new team pretty much since he's been there. But, Jalen Hurts is a problem for every team at every week to match up, and especially with his arm talent definitely evolving over this past offseason. He's been throwing the ball very well. He's not turnover prone like he was last year. He was very fun last year and put up a lot of big numbers, but he turned the ball over way too much, and he's definitely changed that, at least for now. He looks so sharp. One of the best. He's up there for the MVP race this season. He looks incredible. This team looks unstoppable right now on both ends. So you shut down Justin Jefferson like that. Man, that's a statement. That's a guy that eats every week, and you shut him down like that. And Darius Slay you just don't want to throw that guy's way right now. So This team is going to be the biggest challenge of the year for the Jags. This is going to be the biggest matchup for them. But I do think this is a competitive game. I do think points will be put up. I think the Jags lose, but I think they do cover. I think they lose by less than a touchdown. I think they keep it close. I think that's just my faith in Doug Peterson.
Yeah, okay.
He's shown that this team is resilient. They're going to go out there. They're going to sling that ball, and James Robinson is running his ass off, and the Eagles will allow the run. That's the one soft spot that the Eagles will let you. They'll kind of play that bend don't break defense, but throwing into that secondary is scary right now. But they will allow you to run. So and James Robinson has been shown, and Etienne, obviously that's a good duo. He's shown James Robinson shown to have home run potential. That guy's like Nick Chubb light, and he's very good at catching the ball. So I can see Doug Peterson scheming this game up and keeping it close. If the Jags win, I will not be super surprised, but I'll be a little surprised. But this is a big favorite here. But I think Philly wins, but I think the Jags cover.
Maybe the best game, or a lot of people are anticipating to be the best game of the week, is the Ravens hosting the Bills. As it currently stands, they still have the Bills, according to Yahoo Sports, they have the Bills as -3 favorites on the road, which means if this game was in Buffalo, they would have them beating the Ravens by almost a full touchdown. This is surprising to me, Trevor, because I think the writing's on the wall that the Ravens are going to win this game. The biggest reason why isn't even just because Lamar Jackson has been, I say Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the league, and I stand by that. Lamar Jackson has been the best quarterback in football this season. Lamar Jackson has been playing at a whole nother level. He's playing better now than he was in his 2019 MVP season.
He has more touchdowns than like half the league.
Yeah,
like most
he has,
teams.
I think 10 to 12 touchdowns already. Yeah. He's been unbelievably efficient. He's just unstoppable at this. I told everybody he's going scorched earth this year. I think we both agreed on this. Yeah. Man, everyone's been talking about how the Ravens had this banged up defense and stuff coming into the season. I don't think people realize just how banged up the Bills are in this game. Think about this. They have already ruled out 3 different starting players. Jordan Phillips with a hamstring, Jake Kummerow with an ankle, and quarterback Christian Bedford with his broken hand. They have 7 players question is listed as questionable with Gabe Davis, who will probably play, Dane Jackson, Dawson Knox, Mitch Morse, Justin Murray, Jordan Poyer, and Ed Oliver. Jordan Poyer, by the way, was a limited participant all week in practice. They needed him because he's their only starting secondary player essentially right now. They went and signed, if I'm not mistaken, Xavier Rhodes and Justin Murray to the active roster this last week, and both of them are injured.
Yeah.
They both are already injured. So I like the Bills, but I told you from the beginning of the season, Char, I don't love them. And they're 2-1 now, coming off a frustrating loss in damn near 100-degree weather against the Dolphins. They ran like 90 plays.
Strange play.
Yeah, they ran 90 plays. They ran 90 plays against the Dolphins and put up 19 points. Like, that's just weird.
Yeah.
And now that they're banged up again on both sides of the ball, coming from a tough fought divisional loss on the road, now going to Baltimore, a team that is just clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, you had Josh Allen crying on Tua's shoulder.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like, bro,
I mean,
week 3.
You're talking about a team right now that is just going to go through it. And maybe Josh Allen goes superhuman again in this game and just wills them to victory. But in a game like this that also is going to have a lot of rain supposedly in the forecast, Josh Allen's going to have to throw the ball 55 times in this game. Mm-hmm. And if you can't run the ball, like the Bills just cannot run the ball, you think the Chiefs can't run the ball? The Bills can't run the ball.
Yeah, neither can the Ravens.
Well, Lamar Jackson can run the ball, is what I'm saying. I think he's going to be the absolutely. Yeah. But I'm saying Josh Allen has not been running the ball as effectively this year as he has in previous seasons because their offensive line's been banged up as well. I think the Ravens win this game, man. I know it's the 3. I think obviously they're going to, because they're laying the Bills 3 points on this game. Mm-hmm. It could be close. I'm going to say it could be a close game. But I am picking the Ravens, and I'm picking them confidently in this one, mostly because the Bills are so banged up, and they're coming off a big loss on the road again. It's very tough for me to imagine they're going to travel again on back-to-back weeks and go out there and put a display up with a banged-up team. And if they do, I got to give them more credit than I gave them at the beginning of the year. I think they go 2-2 going into next week.
Yeah, this is the matchup that's the toughest to decide who wins this one, because I think it's going to be coming down who outscores who in this one, because I think both defenses are extremely banged up. Ravens defense is less banged up, but they're just not good. Their defense has been not good. Their secondary has been bad, and they have talent back there, but their secondary has been banged up and not good, and they've been a sieve. I mean, they allowed that fourth quarter against the Dolphins, which was unacceptable performance to close out that game. They had no business losing that game, and I think the Bills had no business losing that game against the Dolphins last week. Granted, that's a tough place to go play, and you're in the sun and it's hot, but Josh Allen put up big numbers in that game, and if the Ravens kind of mimic what the Dolphins did, they will win this game. They played a very bend-don't-break defense. They allowed Josh Allen to march down the field. They let him play underneath. He was racking up yards, racking up stats, receptions for receivers, all this and that. But when it got tight in the red zone, they collapsed, and they played really, really good, tight defense. So they might have figured out a little bit of a formula to kind of counteract the Bills' scoring prowess. But I will say this, too. I mean, the offense of the Bills is banged up, too. They're missing some O-linemen. And I think Gabe Davis re-aggravated his ankle. So he's a question mark. I'm not sure if he's playing. Dawson Knox is banged up, might not play. He's questionable. So if those two guys are out, and it's just Diggs, who got banged up a little bit last week as well, but I think he's fine. And he's got to depend on the likes of Isaiah McKenzie and Singletary and guys like that to check down and maybe hope for them to create more yards after the catch. It's gonna be a long day for the Bills. I think this is a game where I think both quarterbacks just have great games. Their numbers are gonna both look incredible. They're both athletic freaks. They both love to run the ball. They both run a lot, and they both know how to get in the end zone when things get tight, and they both know how to use their bodies and sacrifice their bodies. This is a tough one. I think the Ravens should get the edge. I think the Ravens should be the favorites just because they're at home. But I am going to pick the Bills here. I like the spread. It's at 3 or 3.5.
No, yeah. According to Yahoo, it's -3 Bills.
Yeah,
on the road. That's damn.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to imagine that line's going to move more time.
I still think the Bills are the better team. I still think Stephon Diggs is going to be a nightmare matchup for that secondary. We saw what he did to. I think the secondary of the Titans is better.
Imagine what Mark Andrews is going to do to that Bills secondary, though. Mark Andrews is going to snap.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, he's been the only threat. And I think the Bills. Granted, I know they're down 2 safeties right now.
Rashad Bateman's a boomer bust guy, and against a banged up secondary, he can go and get that big touchdown.
Right. Yeah, this is a tough one to pick, man. This is a pick 'em for me. Both these teams, both these quarterbacks are playing elite level football. Josh Allen is coming off of a rough week with that, and they're traveling twice. I mean, it was an emotional wreck the way that game went down. They should have won that game, but they didn't get the ball spiked in time. That's a rough blow mentally. It's all about how you respond, and we're going to see how Josh Allen responds from this. He's been out here making nothing but enemies, kind of been a little asshole every week, trying to start fights with everybody for some reason. I don't know why as a quarterback you'd want to start that. you're going to start having guys targeting you, bro. If you start that shit, no matter how big you are, you got to be careful with that. I love Josh Allen, but he needs to chill with that. And you're going to Baltimore, bro. You better be careful with that. That's a tough place to go play. And there's some gritty dudes and nasty dudes out there that are going to want to come for you. So this is a game, and I'm picking the Bills just because I still think they're the better team. But both these teams are coached well. I have way more faith in Harbaugh to figure out this matchup, get it done.
Yeah.
I want the Ravens to win because I'm tired of this Bills hype. Even though I am on the Bills wagon right now, I still think they're a very, very good team, and Josh Allen is very much elite, and they're on a trajectory and a mission this year to make a statement. And it's Super Bowl or bust for them. So I believe in that they have that momentum. I want the Ravens to win, but I'm picking the Bills, and I'll take the 3 points.
So we go to our next game, and this is actually going to be my upset of the week. The Texans and the Chargers. It's in Houston. As we recall last season, I know that people are like, well, it's last season, it doesn't matter. Well, these teams are pretty damn similar to what they were last season. And the Texans beat the shit out of the Chargers in that game. In fact, that was Justin Herbert's worst game of the season. Yeah. I think he threw 2 pick sixes, if I'm not mistaken. The Texans put up 41 points. I think they won by over 20 points in that game. I'm not expecting that. But I am expecting the Texans to win this game, and I'm going to explain why. It's a lot like the Bills versus the Ravens. And I'm not trying to compare the Texans and the Ravens here. I'm talking about a matchup status, player status. Well, first and foremost, the Chargers are going to be without Keenan Allen again for a third week. And then you have Corey Linsley, they're saying he's going to come off and play, but he's banged up with a bad knee, and that's their starting center, and that's a really good Texans front seven. Donald Parham is going to miss another game. It looks like the guys that are questionable right now, Donald Parham and Corey Linsley, and they're saying Parham won't play. The good news is they do have J.C. Jackson and Austin Johnson expected to play, but Justin Herbert is not getting any better. He took several more hits against the Jaguars last week. They still had him in the game down 28 points. They were getting absolutely whooped. And they still had Justin Herbert out there taking hits. Brandon Staley is just such an incompetent coach, and that's another factor to this game. Is I actually have more faith in Lovie Smith at this point than Brandon Staley as a head coach, and I'm not trying to be a mean guy. I'm being serious. Lovie Smith has led a team to the Super Bowl as a head coach.
Brandon Staley competitive every week.
Yeah, Brandon Staley has a losing record as a head coach, so I'm not going to even try to go down the coaching list. I think that Brandon Staley is just he's incompetent as a head coach. But more so, if you look at the way these teams have played so far this season, the Chargers have not been scoring points at all. They're 16th in the league in scoring at 19 points a game. And the Texans aren't far off, only scoring 16 points a game. So neither one of these offenses, in my eyes, are going to score a bunch of points in this game. But also the fact that the Texans' defense is 12th in points allowed. They're averaging 20. They're only allowing less than 20 points per game. The Chargers are giving up 28 points a game. That's 29th in the league, rather.
Right.
So rush yards, neither one of these teams good at running the ball at all. The Texans are 27th, and the Chargers are dead last at 32. So the time of possession thing is going to be weird. The only advantage I'm going to give the Chargers, outside of obviously having Justin Herbert, but he, again, is banged up, is the third down efficiency. The Texans are the worst in the league at 25%, and the Chargers are 15th, so they're right down the middle. But the Texans have more sacks this season, 7-10, and they have more interceptions as a defense, 4-3. So, man, I think the Texans are going to surprise some people. I think right now the Texans are the Chargers are a -6 favorite on the road, which means that people would assume they would just whoop the Texans at SoFi. Because of the fact that the Chargers don't have a real home field advantage, and the Texans surprisingly have a good fan base, I think that they're going to go out there and feel real juiced, real jacked, really, really poised. Because the Texans also knew they really messed up a couple of these last games. They should have beat the Bears last week.
Yeah,
that was bad. Blunder after blunder, and they should have beaten the Broncos, but blunder after blunder. They could not get things going on the offense. I think Davis Mills finally has a really good home game. Not great, but a good enough game. He's been bad this year. But I think this is that one game where they feel like they have the mental advantage because they whooped the Chargers last season, and the Chargers are so banged up, and they don't have a head coach that can rally them and get them focused. I think the Texans pull away this victory, and I think they win a very close game, man. In fact, I'll say this. They win the game by a field goal, walk-off field goal.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, if I'm betting this game, I'm picking the Texans with the points, but I pick them to lose because I think they will lose by less than a touchdown. I don't think the Texans they're going to be competitive. I'm putting my money on Justin Herbert bouncing back from that embarrassing loss. Like, he got his ass kicked by Jacksonville. He's not going to be right all year.
Yeah.
So I'm not too big on the coach keeping him out there on a blowout is absolutely asinine and stupid. That made no sense. You pull him out of that game, but he's going to have to start, and he's not going to be 100% for the rest of the year. His ribs are never going to be fully. He's going to need a whole offseason to recover from this. And we've had numerous guys that have dealt with that injury talking about that. He's just going to have to deal with that for the rest of this year. It's unfortunate, but that's a pain management kind of thing. I'm picking the Chargers here. I think this has got to be a game. You talked about the running game. This has got to be a game where they get Austin Eckler going. He's way too good. I know that O-line's not very good at run blocking at all. Get him involved in the passing game then. He's so good with the ball in his hands. We've seen Eckler have elite seasons. His numbers are insane for his career. He's on pace to be up there with the greats. You know what I mean? But he has not done jack this year yet. They got to get him going. I know Keenan Allen is out, but I do like Joshua Palmer, who's the guy, the second-year guy for them. He's good. He's been a good fill-in guy for Keenan Allen. Has similar skill set, really good route runner, and they still have Mike Williams, man. You know what I mean? That's a tough matchup for any secondary. I think Mike Williams is just a force out there. He's yet to really, really have a big pop-off game. He played really well against our secondary, and I think our secondary is better than Texans. So I could see Mike Williams having a big pop-off game here. Justin Herbert's going to be – I think he's going to be really, really motivated after that embarrassing loss. And obviously the coach catching a lot of heat for putting him in that game late when they're getting blown out is something he wants to bounce back from as well. And I just – regardless of the coaching, this comes down to the offensive weapons and the absolute lopsided talent at quarterback here. I think Justin Herbert absolutely goes out there and gets his jump. I think it will be a competitive game, though. I think the Chargers win by 3. I'm with you on that. I think it will be close, but it's going to be a low scoring. I would take the under, but I do think the Chargers finish this game.
They have a couple more games I want to get to, and this is actually the AFC West interdivision rivalry game. That I really am looking forward to because both of these teams to me are just not good. The Broncos visit the Raiders, and I believe this game, if I'm not mistaken, is a 3:25 game on CBS, so most of us will be able to watch it. The Raiders come in at a 2.5-point favorites at home. The over/under is 45.5. Trev, neither one of these teams are good. Like I said, I don't believe in either one of these teams. I had these guys. I had the Broncos at 3rd in the division. I had the Raiders at 4th in the division because I thought the Raiders are going to be awful. And what do you know? They're the only team that have not won a game this season so far. And the Broncos, I'll give it to them. They're 2-1.
Somehow.
I get that. They're 2-1. They've also had 3 of the easiest games of the season, and they've survived them. Right now, the Broncos have the worst offense in football. On primetime at home, they put up 11 points, and the only reason they had 11 points is because Jimmy G decided to tap dance in the back of the end zone and then throw a pick on the same play. That would have been a pick six. Yeah, exactly. So they actually panned out pretty well, considering going into that final drive for the Broncos when Russell Wilson, to his credit, did have a really good drive to get them that last touchdown.
Made some plays.
Before that drive in that game, Jimmy G scored more points for the Broncos than Russell Wilson did. The Broncos had 3 points in that game before that safety. So that's how bad the Broncos are. And they're not going to be getting any better because they don't, again, when I talk about coaching, it's very imperative we bring that up. Nathaniel Hackett does not know what he's doing. He is not a good head coach. And if the Broncos know what they're worth, they'd fire him immediately, but they're going to probably wait to the end of the season. And Russell Wilson is no longer what Russell Wilson once was, who was a really good quarterback back in the day. He's no longer that guy. This Broncos offensive line's not been nearly as good as people thought they'd be. Their defense is good, but here's the thing. When you face Geno Smith, Davis Mills, and Jimmy Garoppolo, your defense better look good.
Right.
Well, now they have their first real challenge because to Derek Carr's credit, he's a good quarterback. Derek Carr is a good quarterback.
He's been terrible.
He's not been good this season. But I have to imagine that a team that is 0-3, knowing they have a divisional foe coming into their house, and knowing if they go 0-4, they are 100% done. I think they're already done, but they're mentally telling themselves right now, we can still get this. We can climb back. We have all the talent. Yeah, they have so much offensive talent. I mean, their defense sucks. I don't think their defense is good at all. But I think their offense is finally going to click in this game. I think the Broncos defense is going to get exposed a little bit in this one. I think Russell Wilson is going to struggle again, even though he's playing a bad defense in the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to win this game, and I think they win it by a full touchdown, Trevor. I think this will be the game of the Raiders. You see it. Derek Carr going to the press conference. Yeah, man, we just decided to go out there and, just put our heads into the ground, and just execute the proper way. Got Devontae Adams, praise Jesus. I really think this is going to be that game where Derek Carr goes out there and finally puts together a good game. I don't believe in the Broncos defense as much as other people do, especially without Isaiah Simmons still. I think that's finally the game where you see Devontae Adams go out there and get a 2-touchdown game. I think this is it. Their house is going to be packed. There's going to be a ton of Raider fans out there. Broncos fans too, because they travel well. But this will be that game where I think they finally get it together. I see them winning, 24-13, something like that. Because again, I don't believe in the Broncos offense. I don't think they can score, Trevor. I don't think they can score at all. And I don't think going on the road against a desperate team is going to change that.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders tend not to like put up much points either. Granted, they've been putting up points, but Derek Carr has been horrible, man.
He's got 3 times as many touchdowns as Russell Wilson.
But a lot of that is coming garbage time. Dude.
Yeah,
They've
that's
been getting
fair.
their asses kicked week in and week out, and teams kind of let up. And I will say, Derek Carr is definitely the better thrower of the football right now. He's always been a good thrower of the football, but this might be the worst start to any season of his career right now. And he just got Devontae Adams, the best receiver arguably in football, which is. They're letting me down. The Raiders have let me down this year. I had them winning 8 games this year, and that seems like a very long shot right now, the way they're playing. I'm picking the Broncos in this game just simply because of the defense. I do believe in their defense. They're getting guys back. That defensive line has yet to really go off on a game. They got after Jimmy G, and they're good at getting pressure with 4. They get pressures. They haven't been getting as many sacks, but that secondary is good. They're getting guys back, like I said. Jerry Jeudy is another week to get a little healthier. I think Russ kind of found a little bit towards the end of that game against the Niners. He was a little bit more vintage. He was using his legs a little bit more, had some nice throws downfield, and I still think Russ is the better quarterback between the two. I do. I know he's struggled, and I know, but I mean, we have a sample size for a while now that Russ has always been the better quarterback between those two guys. Not that there's a massive difference, but for the past few years, he's still been the better guy, and I think they have the talent offensively, and I think if the Broncos can get this running game going, they have very talented running backs. I think if Javonte Williams, really gets it going and that O-line figures it out, both these coaches, I mean, they're suspect. Both these coaches don't really know what the hell they're doing, and that's been proven. So that's kind of a wash for me. Yeah. This really comes down to how the Raiders offense does against the Broncos defense. That's the story of this game. Because if that Broncos defense is clicking, the Broncos are going to win. Yeah, because that means the Broncos only need to put up 14 points.
Remember the Week 1 game against the Seahawks and how juiced that Seahawks team was to get a win over Russell Wilson, and then you saw they had 2 prolific star receivers and Lockett and DK Metcalf, 2 star receivers. And Geno Smith at one point in that game had more touchdowns than incompletions.
Right.
I look at this now, a desperate Raiders team at home, just like the Seahawks were, with a much better quarterback, with prolific star receivers when Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow should be back. He should have been back.
He hasn't been practicing.
Okay, then maybe he won't be there.
But Matt Collins has been.
And he's been really good. Yeah, he's been a real surprise. So let's throw him into the mix. Okay, I'm not going to call him a star yet, but he's been an X factor. I think that you're going to see a similar type of performance from Derek Carr in this one, where you see him have multiple touchdowns early in the game, and then it forces the Broncos to try to create offensively. Because the Broncos, the only way they're going to be successful this season offensively is they get the run game going with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Well, Melvin Gordon can't help but put the damn ball on the ground, and I don't think that you're going to see them have enough close games to where they can run the ball a lot, because I don't think their defense is as good as they've looked. Because, again, they've played 3 bad offenses in succession. The Raiders' offense is better than how they've looked. I'm going to give them credit because they're just too talented.
That's why I picked them to win at least 8 games.
I think they're going to be a much better offense. The reason why I'm not believing the Raiders is because I think their defense is equally as bad. And I don't think the Broncos' offense is good enough to even make that Raiders defense look bad.
Yeah.
I just think that's how it's going to look. I think that the Raiders are going to win a game. They're going to get back on track, or at least they're going to convince themselves. But guess what the Raiders get after this? The Chiefs.
Yeah.
So
dude, they could be a 0-5 team.
It legitimately could, yes. But I don't think they will.
Awesome.
I think they get one victory, and I think it's this one more so because of what I don't believe the Broncos are, as opposed to what I think the Raiders are. I don't believe in the Broncos whatsoever.
It's similar to how the Colts were against us. This is a desperate team that needs a win
at home. Home.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is not going to be a game. This is a pick 'em for me. I just think if the Denver defense is playing well and they can build off that last drive offensively. Because both these offenses are talented.
Yeah.
The talent is fairly equal, honestly, offensively. I think they have the better. I think the Denver Broncos have the better running backs. The receivers are talented. Obviously, they're not Devontae Adams, but they're up there. I mean, Waller could definitely go off against the suspect safety group so far. They have not been the best, but their corners are good. But I think if that defensive line gets after Derek Carr, it's going to be a long day for the Raiders. I want the Raiders to win just because I picked them to win 8 games, and they should get on the win column here so we can beat their ass the next week. But this is a team that's staring down 0-5 in my mind.
Well, yeah, it doesn't get any easier when you go to the next week, go to Arrowhead on Sunday Night Football. So that's going to be a blast.
They got to win this home game, though. They got to take care of the Broncos.
And I think that's what they're going to do. Yeah. And then the final game I want to get to is the the 49ers hosting the Rams. The Niners right now are a 1.5-point favorite with an over-under at 42.5. I actually think that over-under is way too high. I don't think this game's going to be high-scoring
These are
at
very
all.
competitive
The 49ers might have
games.
the best defense in the NFL. They might legitimately have the best defense in the NFL, if not top 2, top 3. This defense is phenomenal, and that's the only reason why they've been in games this season so far.
they're really good.
Yes, they're very, very good defensively. And Jimmy Garoppolo, to his credit, and I don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo at all. I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league. To his credit, though, the first game he starts with the team that he has not been practicing with all offseason is in Denver, a team that was desperate for a victory in primetime. Yeah, I don't think that's how it's going to go this time. And here's the other thing. People are saying, because we've had friends text us earlier, even today, about Trent Williams being gone. Significant loss. Let's not pretend like it's not. We know Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football.
That's massive.
That's a massive loss. Yeah, well, the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo last year beat the 49ers, or beat the Rams 27-24
As they
without
usually
Trent
do.
Williams. So
Shanahan typically wins those games.
yeah, and he owns the Rams. Let's be real. He's lost one time, I think, his entire career against the Rams.
Yeah, he has McVay's number.
I think the Rams win again this week. I think it's going to be a very ugly, close game. In fact, I think I don't know if either team's scoring in the 20s in this game. I could see this game going like 17-16 or 19-17. It's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game because both these teams know each other so well. And as much as I love Matt Stafford, he has not looked good this year. I think he already leads the NFL in interceptions again. Allen Robinson's been an absolute bust to this point. They're putting way too much emphasis on Cooper Kupp. And with the Niners defense being as stifling as they are, I think they're one of the few defenses that can actually shut down Cooper Kupp. I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to limit, because the Rams can't run the ball either. I think that's what's going to happen.
Debo's a tough matchup for that secondary.
Yes, thank you. And I think the Niners defense is going to be the difference maker in this one. A home game, a get-right game after losing a frustrating 11-9 or 11, whatever the score was last week.
Scoring,
11-10, I think it was. Yeah. They're going to get a get-right game, an ugly victory, and get back on the saddle and win a close one.
Yeah, I like this matchup. These games are always typically really, really tough matchups between these two teams. They know each other very well. The coaches know each other very, very well. The personnel and the rosters know each other very well as far as a talent perspective goes. I like the Rams in this game. It will be close. I like the Rams in this game simply because of the loss of Trent Williams. I think this defensive line. I would actually like this. I would actually like the Niners if Trey Lance was playing in this game.
Okay, yeah.
Because his mobility. Because we all know Garoppolo is a statue back there.
Yeah.
And you lose the best left tackle in the league, and you got Von Miller coming off the edge, and then Aaron Donald coming up the middle.
Von Miller plays for the Bills.
I'm sorry, not Von Miller, but you got
Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd.
Yes, Leonard Floyd. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. A very good, stout defensive line coming after you when you lose the best left tackle in football.
Yeah.
That's just that's a matchup in hell for me. So I think the Rams win this game, but I think it is close, and these games are always competitive. But I think that loss, and I think that Jimmy G is just, in my mind, I think he's garbage. I always have. But if Trey Lance was in this game and he can use his mobility and run and evade that pressure, and I think Garoppolo is going to be under pressure all night long in this game. I'm picking the Rams simply because of that. And I think Stafford's probably going to have his woes too. He's probably going to throw a pick or two like he typically does, but I think he has enough, and I think this offense gets enough off of this. I know this Niners defense is stout, but both these defenses are going to be getting after each other. I just trust Stafford to find a way to win more than I do Garoppolo, so that's why I'm going there.
Jesus Christ, I think we only agreed on one game. I think it was the Eagles and Jaguars game.
Yeah. Good.
And we did not talk about this before the show. Let me just put that out there. We did not talk about this before.
You've yet to win a week in picks, so I feel good about me.
Hey, David, you got one, all right? We got 3 weeks in. I rallied. Like last year, I was terrible for like the first 5 weeks, just like the Chiefs. And then I rallied.
Eddie's beating us right now.
He is beating us, little fucker. So we are going to move on to the game of the week for us, obviously, because it's the game that we know that everybody that's watching or paying attention or listening to the show is here to talk about. It is the Chiefs visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me first of all say that this has been a really weird week, not just because of the fact that the Chiefs are coming off a very frustrating loss that they handed themselves, but and I don't want to be a guy that pretends as if I'm some expert weatherman or anything like that. But this week's been really weird, Trev, because as we all know, Hurricane Ian, or Ian, however you want to say it, has hit the Florida Gulf Coast really, really bad. Yeah. We know that Fort Myers in particular and areas south of Tampa took the brunt of it, and it just gotten absolutely destroyed. And my heart is genuinely with those people, the Floridians out there, because as we know, I think there's right now, as it currently stands, over 2.5 million people are without power. And that's not mentioning the people that have lost their homes, lost their lives, lost loved ones. I mean, It's bigger than the game. It's much, much bigger than football, which is the biggest reason why I was confused as to why the NFL decided to stay there in Tampa Bay for this game. Now, according to the reports that we've seen, and we've had some mixed reports, but according to the reports that we've heard and seen, Tampa has enough of an infrastructure to supply power to the Raymond J. Stadium and make this work. But what's weird about this whole thing is half of the city, or I think it was like 2/5 of the city, did not have power as of Friday. And they have all these workers out there trying to use all these resources to get power back to that city and the surrounding cities. And it's just kind of odd to me that we're using resources to get this game going in a city that probably won't even have half of their fan base show up to the game, because half their fan base is probably trying to get power back in their homes. It was a very weird thing, especially when you had other facilities that could accommodate, like Minneapolis. They could have played this game up in Minnesota, and they'd have been just fine. And a lot of people I know were saying, Lance, you just don't want to see a home field advantage for the Buccaneers. Honestly, I don't give a shit where this game's played, because I'm picking the Chiefs in this one, and I'm going to explain why. But I wanted to put that out there first and foremost, that I thought the NFL really dropped the ball on this one, because I would like to believe there was a series of tornadoes surrounding Arrowhead, and all these homes and all these places were absolutely destroyed. I would like to believe that the NFL would maybe consider moving this game for the dangers that are surrounding what's going on, and how the surrounding area is kind of going through a travesty. Right. I don't know, Trevor. Maybe that's just me, but I just wanted to put that one out there. But nevertheless, the NFL has decided to stake their flag in Tampa Bay and hold this game down in Tampa Bay, whatever the case might be. I'm going to keep this really simple with this one, Trevor, because both teams are dealing with their own series of injuries. The Bucs significantly worse, but if we look at the injury report right now, it looks like Mike Dana is not going to play for the second straight week. It does look like MVS is still dealing with that abdomen. He was a limited participant on Friday. He is questionable for the game. We know that Harrison Butker did practice in some regard, limited participant in practice this week. He might give it a go. I'm not anticipating he will, but he has been giving it a go, which is a good sign for moving forward after this week. Ronald Jones is the notable one. He had an illness throughout the week, but was a full-time participant on Friday. Why it's noteworthy is because of the fact that I think this would be a perfect game for Ronald Jones to get into, as my guy JD from Chief Concerns had mentioned immediately after the Chiefs-Colts game, that it is time for this to happen, and I could not agree more.
Tell me, man.
Because the run game has been struggling so bad for the Chiefs after week one, and Ronald Jones, to me, as I've been saying, and Trevor, I think you agree with me wholeheartedly, that I said from the beginning of the season when they acquired Ronald Jones that I think he is the best, most complete running back they have on this team. And I'm a Clyde guy. Yeah. I'm a Isaiah Pacheco guy. I'm a Jerick McKinnon guy. I like all three of those running backs. But he gives them something none of those running backs have to this point. I think Isaiah Pacheco has some of the attributes that Ronald Jones has as a bigger running back.
Yards after contact.
But we don't know what Isaiah Pacheco is going to be as a running back to this point. He's too busy running out of the back of the damn end zone and kickoffs. So that's already pissing me off. I think Ronald Jones, with the added motivation of playing against his former team that he played very well with, I might add, helped them win a Super Bowl, I might add. I think that he would be a great acquisition to this offense this week and moving forward to give them another option, another effective option, another efficient option in the pass and run game. I think that would be a really good opportunity for Ronald Jones to get out there, but we'll see if that actually even happens. He might be another healthy scratch, but we'll see how that goes. But the biggest thing for me, Trevor, in this game, because, again, the Bucs are absolutely struggling offensively. They're only averaging 17 points a game right now. If I'm not mistaken, looking at the third down conversions.
They have 3 touchdowns on the year.
They have 3 touchdowns in the entire season, 3 offensive touchdowns. Yeah. Their third down efficiency percentage right now is 28th in the league with 29%, whereas the Chiefs are 12th with 40%. That's considering how horrible they were last week. Right. The Chiefs are a much better team on third down conversions, which is where this game is going to be decided, in my eyes, Trevor. This game is going to come down to third down conversions. The Chiefs were really bad again last week, but through 3 games, like I said, the Bucs have been worse than the Chiefs have been all season. Again, the Chiefs converted 30% last week. The Bucs are converting 29% on the season. Mm-hmm. Which, with Tom Brady showing his age, with the Bucs offensive line and offensive weapons still so banged up, I mean, Chris Godwin and Julio Jones are game-time decisions. I don't even know if either one of them are going to go. We know they got Mike Evans back, but even with Mike Evans in week 1, they put up 19 points against the Cowboys, and Mike Evans, I think, right now has a little over 100 yards and a touchdown on the season. So he's not even been great. Against the Saints, he got shut down as well. I don't have any reason, based upon these factors, Trevor, to believe that this is the week that the Bucs offense changes their ways. especially when you consider the fact they're going against the Chiefs defense that, despite what my guy Shannon Sharp said on Undisputed on Friday, is a very, very good defense. In fact, the Chiefs have a top 10 defense when you consider that although they are right now currently allowing 22 points per game through 3 games, there is context to those to those points. Because here it is. 14 of the Cardinals' 21 points in Week 1's game came in the fourth quarter when the Chiefs were up 30 points. Garbage time. 7 of the Chargers' 21 points in Week 2 came with a minute left in the game, and the 7 of the Colts' 20 points in Week 3 were literally hand-wrapped and gifted to the Colts via Sky Moore, muffing the punt and pinning the Chiefs down the 4-yard line.
Yep.
That's 43% of the Chiefs' points they've allowed this year. 43%.
So it helps to watch the games.
Exactly. And if you look at the fact that the Chiefs right now, in comparison to the BUCS defense, which, by the way, is insanely good this year, the Chiefs only have 1 fewer sack. The BUCS are 3rd in the league in sacks with 11. The Chiefs are 5th in the league with 10. The Chiefs' defense has been insanely good this year. Their points allowed per game, the Chiefs, again, 22 to the BUCS 9, but contextualized, it brings it down to the Chiefs average allowing around 14 points per game. So both these defenses have been elite in points allowed.
The BUCS don't blitz very much. I mean, we should have more sacks than the BUCS, though, honestly, because we blitz a lot more than the BUCS do. They get there with 4 a lot.
Well, the BUCS do blitz 9th in the league. They do,
really?
Yeah, they're 9th in the league in blitz percentage.
Okay.
So we know that Todd Bowles likes to send the dogs, and when you have linebackers as great as he has, it's understandable why you do that.
Yeah.
But points scored per game is the biggest factor in all of this. The Chiefs average 12 points per game more than the BUCS do. That is the ultimate factor. And again, I want to reiterate, Trevor, when people talk about how they're worried about the offense going into that or after that Week 3 game, please don't be. This offense is going to be just fine. Am I expecting the Chiefs to score a bunch of points this week? No, because the BUCS defense is very good. But as we saw the last time Patrick Mahomes had a healthy offensive line against this BUCS defense, Trevor, what did he do? Oh, that's right. He threw 478 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pretty good.
Yeah, Tyreek had like 200 receiving yards in the first half.
269 to be honest.
Insane.
So there is context to that as well. My point though is that Patrick Mahomes did whatever the hell he wanted to do against this defense, even as great as they were back in 2020, which you can make the case was even better back then than they are right now. He devastated that defense. Now, I do believe there are still growing pains for this offense. But again, when I look at the third down rates, and I see that even though the Chiefs were bad last week, the BUCS have been horrific all season. And you can't say it's because they've been missing Mike Evans, because again, he's played 2 of the 3 games so far this season. Mm-hmm. And the BUCS still played just as bad in those 2 weeks previous with Mike Evans than they did against the Packers last week. They can't even line up on time without getting a game penalty on a potential game-tying 2-point conversion.
The offensive line is terrible.
At home, no less, against the Packers team. Let's be real here. The BUCS defense played really good against the Aaron Rodgers last week. Dude, the first 3 possessions, Rodgers scored on back-to-back opening possessions, right?
That's
And then they fumbled on the 1-yard line.
Yep.
They would have been up 21. They'd have been up 21 points. So the first 3 drives, the Packers are doing whatever they want. No offense to Aaron Rodgers and his offense. They do not compare to what the Chiefs are as an offense right now. No offense to them.
They are who they are. They're just
not very good right now.
Duncan and a nice throw downfield every once in a while.
The Chiefs have a significantly more talented offense than the Packers do. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried whether the offense is going to move the ball in this game. Are they going to score a bunch of points? No. But in my eyes, Trevor, if the Chiefs score over 20 points in this game, they're going to win this game.
Yeah, if Romeo Doubs is going to go out there and ball out against the BUCS secondary, I mean, Travis Kelce and Juju better go out there and have a field day.
Right, and again, let's contextualize this. The Chiefs have only allowed, like I said, around 14, 15 points, legitimate points per game this season. That's with Trent McDuffie missing 2.5 weeks, and he looked insanely good against the Cardinals.
Didn't get targeted
and
once.
they didn't have Willie Gay last week against the Colts, who's been maybe their best line. Well, Nick Bolton's by far their best linebacker, but Willie Gay's been really good this season so far. This Chiefs defense is for real. In my opinion, Trevor, I think they're going to make a much bigger statement against the BUCS offense than the BUCS offense will against the Chiefs defense. I think the Chiefs have advantages on both sides of the ball when you consider the matchup on the other side. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Chiefs defense has nearly as much of a challenge on the opposite eyes as the BUCS defense does against the Chiefs offense, even though the BUCS defense, in my eyes, is better than the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs offense is significantly better than the BUCS offense. That's what it's going to be the ultimate factor. So there's third down conversions on both sides of the ball. But I'll say this before you get to your thoughts, Trevor. And I hate to be that guy. I really, really, really do. So I know people are going to crush me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I truly, truly believe it. I'm really worried about the officiating in this game. I really am, dude. In fact, I'm more worried about the officiating in this game than I am the BUCS. And that is, I hate doing that. I really, really hate doing that because I think this game is won and lost by teams. But, man, we saw this in 2018 when the Rams had those fires in Los Angeles, and they had all this moving, and I support all that stuff, the donations and, all this stuff, the relief, because all these people lost their homes, and it was horrible. It was horrible what was going on in Los Angeles. And then you saw just the home cooking, man. Horrific penalty after horrific penalty. The damn umpire, the head umpire, was winking at Jared Goff when Andy Reid's pissed off on the sidelines when Jared Goff is walking towards him, talking shit. Yeah. And they're winking at him like, it's okay, we got this, and just absolutely jobbed the Chiefs in that game on those calls. Ironically enough, that was Bill Vinovich. You know who's headlining this game, Trevor? Bill Vinovich. I'm really worried. We're seeing Tom Brady on Twitter, posting the donation links and all this other stuff, and there's like this big movement going on for Tampa Bay, which is why I think the ultimate reason why the NFL decided to keep the game there is to utilize that as a platform to get those donations out there. And again, I support it. I'll probably donate money to it. I'm just very worried, man, that in a primetime game like this, we're going to see some horrific calls because we already know how this goes with Tom Brady. He already gets that benefit of the doubt, and you cannot deny that because in the matchups the Chiefs have had, they've had 5 matchups in the Patrick Mahomes era with Tom Brady. You know what the difference in penalties is, Trevor? 40-23.
Yeah, I seen you post that.
40-23 in 5 games.
Surprised there's no one.
The Chiefs have almost averaged 10 penalties per game against Tom Brady. There was a game in 2018 in the Week 6 matchup in New England where the Patriots got 0 penalties. 0. You can't tell me you couldn't have caught one offensive lineman holding in that game. Give me a damn break. It was 5-0. So the Chiefs have had 17 more penalties in their 5 matchups, playoffs included, against Tom Brady in the Patrick Mahomes era. That is, dude, I'm telling you right now, that worries me so much more than the Buccaneers outscoring the Chiefs in this game because I don't think they can. I don't think that the Buccaneers have the offense that can score with the Chiefs. Even as good as the Bucs defense is, the Chiefs are going to find a way to score over 20 points in this game. I'm very, very worried we're going to see some bad penalties. They're going to give the Bucs a serious advantage here. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But if this game is officiated evenly, Trevor, I think the Chiefs win by a couple scores.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with the calls. I mean, but I'll say that I'll agree with that with the caveat that the Chiefs are already on high alert with penalties because of how the game ended last week with Chris Jones. So I think all the guys are going to be. I think that's something they probably harped on really heavily in the practice leading up to this game. Is watch for those kind of penalties. Don't make stupid. Regardless if you were in the right or wrong or it should have been called or if it was validated or not, keep yourself from those situations. I think I'm glad that kind of happened in a way. The fact that this is a game where the calls tend to be swayed towards Tom Brady. It's just a historical fact. So I think the fact that we had to deal with that Chris Jones call might kind of put this team on high alert coaching-wise and personnel and player-wise to be very alert on those things and not have stupid unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct kind of things happen. There's always going to be those phantom holding calls and things like that, or roughing the passer. That's going to, you touch Tom Brady's nipple or something, they're going to give you a call. So, this is a similar matchup to the Colts game. The teams are very similar. They're very bad offenses right now, but very stout defenses. This defense is even better than the Colts, and they're at home. So the Bucs are going to want to run Lenny. They're going to want to run Leonard Fournette out there and try to get him going and try to balance out this offense and take deep shots with Mike Williams every once in a while, or Mike Evans every once in a while. Mike Evans scares me. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we struggle against those big body, speedy, kind of fast and tall receivers like Mike Williams and Mike Evans. Mike Williams ate us alive. Was eating our guys alive. But granted, the coverage was there, but those tall guys like that, it's a tough matchup for any corner. And Tom Brady's got a great deep ball. If he gets a chance, and granted that O-line sucks, so it's up to our defensive line to get pressure on him, not give him time to make those throws. But I can see, the vintage Tom Brady offense, run, set up the play action, and then take a deep shot with Mike Evans, and then it's a wrap. That's tough. He's tough to cover. So if we contain Mike Evans and get after Tom Brady, we can allow Lenny to run here and there. Play a little soft in the middle. If he gets, a few yards here and there, let Lenny run every once in a while, but just don't get beat over the top by Mike Evans. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Don't let Tom Brady get those play action plays because that's when he gets rolling and that's when that offense is tough. But they've yet to show that this year, so I don't believe in them yet until I see it. And our defense, I believe in so far. I think we were going to get after him. I think Chris Jones is very much a response game from what he did. I think he felt he cost the game last week, and I think he's going to carry that weight into this one. So that's great momentum and motivation for him. I think this is the game where George Karlaftis gets his first sack. I know you called that last week, but I think this is the game. I think this O-line is horrible.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a game where he gets in there and, Tom Brady's going to be worried about Dunlap because Dunlap has kind of been the guy on film really, really popping off on the edge. And he's been the guy that's really been collecting the sacks so far, but I think this is a game where he gets off the schneid and gets his first sack on Tom Brady. He's been collecting sacks as well. So, yeah, this is my main thing, man. I just want to see Patrick Mahomes be efficient. We all know what he can do. We all know how great he is off script and the play breaks down, and there's going to be pressure. But this O-line and this offense has got to show me something. I'm tired of seeing the last 2 weeks of this O-line just getting obliterated. This might be the biggest challenge of the year right here for our O-line. Yeah. And then we got what's his name, Shaq Barry out there calling our offensive line out, saying he don't see much different. Bro, if that doesn't pump your nads, if that doesn't get you stoked and ready for this matchup to go out there and show who you really are, Creed Humphrey and all these guys, go out there and really, really show who you are. Joe Tooney, you're paid the money, man. Go out there and show. He's been playing well. He's probably been the brightest spot of all of them for the most part. But, Orlando Brown, you want to bet on yourself, buddy? Go out there and bet on yourself and show us what you are and show us who you are. And you want to be here and be the guy that protects Pat for years to come? Show us. This has got to be the week where you guys show us. Protect Pat. Allow him to make plays. Pat, go out there and throw the right throws. If nothing's available deep or across the middle or anything there, check it down. Right. Get it to Clyde. Get it to McKinnon. These guys can make plays in space. Block downfield. Travis Kelce, catch the damn ball. We know who you are. We know what you've done for years. You respond. That's all I'm asking for this offense is just respond and be who they are. Offensive line, be semi-competent, man. Be who you are. You were arguably the best, if not the best, offensive line last year, all season. I need to see that out of these guys. I need to see the dog come out of these guys. I expect our defense to come out ready. I'm not worried about our defense. I think our defense is going to really get after Tom Brady. I think we're going to pressure him all day. That offensive line is really bad. But if we contain Mike Evans, get after Tom Brady, and our offense is what we know they can be. They have not been for the last couple weeks, but we know what they can be. And the weakness of that Buccaneers defense, they've allowed scoring, I think, on the first two possessions, within the first two possessions every week. Yeah. They start off slow. So if we can go out there and get up 2 scores early, to me, that's a wrap. And I don't see them responding and coming back from that.
Let me put this out here real quick. 2 things that I want to put up, and then I want to get our key players of this game and our overall prediction of the game and who wins. As great as the Buccaneers defense is, and guys, I can't stress it enough, they've been insanely good this year. They're only, like I said, allowing like 9 points a game, and they're top 10 in every stat pretty much when it comes to sacks and it comes to yards allowed, everything else. But as great as the Bucs defense has been, the Chiefs are right behind them on defense. Think about it. In rush yards, the Bucs defense has only allowed 238 rushing yards on the season. The Chiefs only given up 22 more at 260. And then when you look at pass game, when it comes to pass yards, the Buccaneers have given up 629. The Chiefs have given up 682. That's 53 more passing yards on the season.
And we put up more points, so teams tend to chase us more than...
Yeah, and that's less than 20 more yards per game in the air.
Right.
So, as great as the Bucs defense... And again, the sack difference. Bucs 11, Chiefs 10. And the Chiefs have faced overall really good quarterbacks this year. Obviously, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, and then Matt Ryan, not a great quarterback anymore, but he's a capable quarterback.
Really good O-line, supposedly.
Exactly. Yeah. So, let's give the Chiefs some credit here. And again, I don't think either one of these offenses are going to get anything off the ground game. I don't think they're going to run the ball very well at all. I would be shocked if they both combined for 100 rushing yards.
I don't like the fact that he's coming off a loss to Aaron Rodgers, and I know he doesn't want to lose to Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes back-to-back, so they're going to come out ready to perform.
I don't want to be 5'9", but here I am. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of things we don't want that we end up getting anyway, Trevor. So that's the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think either one of these offenses are going to get anything out of the ground game, substantially out of the ground game. Maybe in goal line plays here and there. But I don't expect that. So who am I trusting more to throw the ball successfully in this game? 45-year-old Tom Brady with a banged-up offense, or Patrick Mahomes at 27 years old who's pissed off coming off a road loss he gave that other team with a plethora of weapons. I still think this team is more than capable of scoring at a high level with these weapons that they have. They have no excuse not to score points because, to the Bucs' discredit, they have a defensive-minded head coach running the way, and the Chiefs have a progressive offensive-minded head coach leading the way, which is why I'm trusting the Chiefs in this one.
And with that point, I need to see Andy Reid come out with a good game plan and a good script to open our first couple possessions. I do not want to have 3 and outs our first couple possessions, let alone our first possession. We need to go out there and get on the board for our first possession.
Which is what leads me to the key players of this game. Trevor, I'm going to start with my 2. And my first is going to it leads to what you just said. It segues from what you just said, but it's not a player. It's Andy Reid. That's my first, because of the fact that after a loss like this, knowing who you're now going up against, knowing what this game means for legacy purposes, and not to mention the fact that you can't afford to lose another game and hope the Bills lose another game. It's also the fact that I think that Andy Reid is this is what I've been putting faith in him this whole time. Going into this season, before the season ever started, I said coaching is what's going to separate the Chiefs from everybody else. Coaching and head and quarterback. I believe Patrick Mahomes is going to have a good game in this week. I don't think he's going to have 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, but I could very well see him having anywhere from 280 to 330 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. I could literally see that, because the one thing I think that you can beat the BUCS in is in the pass game. And if they decide to blitz Patrick, that's their grave right there. Yeah. That's their death note right there. So they better not blitz. And in fact, I think that Todd Bowles is going to take a step back and try to play that cover 8. But I like it because this offense, the Chiefs' offense, is built to play underneath now. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be a little bit more patient in this game and not to try to have those big 60-yard bombs in this game. I think that he's going to try to cut them 1,000 times to kill them. I think Andy Reid's going to have this team focused, ready to go. I think Dave Tobe, the coaching staff, all these guys are going to be focused and have this team with a great game plan going on the road against a big, worthy opponent. And I think he's my biggest guy on that one. And the second guy on the defensive side is going to be Justin Reid. I think Justin Reid is the guy that's going to make a big play against Tom Brady. I think he picks him off in this game. I think there's going to be a play in the middle of the field where Tom Brady's going to be driving, and it looks like the BUCS can get some momentum going on the offensive side. Pressure coming from either Chris Jones, Karlaftis, whoever it is that gets in the backfield. L'Jarius Sneed's been balling out this season. Maybe it's a safety blitz that, Spags likes to mix those in every once in a while. Pressure, Tom throws an arm punt, Justin Reid gets it, and it just kills the momentum that the BUCS have in that game. And I think the Chiefs are going to benefit off of Andy Reid's leadership as the head coach. Justin Reid being this big offseason acquisition to replace Tyrann Mathieu. I think he stakes his flag as that guy, as that new fan favorite, makes a big play in this game defensively and shows why this defense and why this team as a whole needs to be taken seriously. Those are my 2 key guys in this game. Trevor, who are yours?
Yeah, so offensively, Juju started kind of getting some rhythm going last week. It was good to see him going because the week before that he was a no-show pretty much. I like his matchup in this game. Granted, I know as stout and as strong as his secondary has been, he's a guy that's good at getting separation. He's good at finding plays over the middle in those soft spots sometimes of the defense. So if they play a little bit of his own, I think he's going to be able to be a guy that Patrick's going to find over the middle a couple times, and he's going to create some plays. And I think he scores. Yeah. I think he's going to be a guy that finally gets into the end zone. He needs his game. I think this is a great opportunity because I think that defense is really going to be swarming Kelsey. Granted, Kelsey's probably still going to at least get 60 to 80 receiving yards, maybe a touchdown possibly. But I know that defense is really going to be focusing on, especially the safeties. They're really going to be honing in on Kelsey, trying to keep him out of the game because I think the league thinks if you stop Kelsey, you stop this offense, and I think that's going to be leaking opportunities for Juju here. And if MBS doesn't play, I think Watson might get some play. We'll see how that goes. But I think this is a Juju game. I think Pat really makes an emphasis to find him over the middle a few times, up the seam, things like that, to get him more involved. Because I saw that later on in the game last week, and I think he looks good. He's got to get him the ball. He's very good with the ball in his hands. Not the fastest guy, but he's slippery, and he's good and he's very strong. So I think that could be a mismatch there in that secondary and on the soft spots of that defense. Defensively, it's George Karlaftis. I think this is the game, like I said. I think he gets a sack here. I would like him to get a sack and a half or 2. That'd be great. But I think he gets that sack, his first sack of the season here. He's been getting the pressures. He's been looking really good. He's been living in the backfield a lot. Just the other guys have been feeding off of that. So I think this is where this offensive line is so broken right now. I think Tom Brady's a statue. He's been a statue his whole career. He's not a guy that can evade pressure very well. So I think George Karlaftis finally goes in there and gets it. And I'm going to be very happy when he does.
So you have Juju and George, and I have the Reeds. I like it. Trevor, who wins this game?
I'm taking the Chiefs 21-17.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a close game. I don't. 17 is a push for that BUCS defense, but there is always garbage time, and I see that being the play. I think we'll be up by at least 10, and they'll be they'll have a late touchdown that doesn't really matter because we're up comfortably by double digits, and they end up making it look closer than it was. But the Chiefs 21-17.
Yeah, I have the Chiefs right under their scoring total this year. I have the Chiefs winning this game, and I do think I'm going to take it a little step further. Trevor. I think the Chiefs win this game by double digits because of the fact they are the better overall team with a lot riding on this game. Because I think this game matters more to the Chiefs than it does the BUCS because the BUCS not only play in the NFC, but they're playing an NFC South that has been. I was big on the Saints this year. I'm still going to hold on to that, but this NFC South is horrible. The Panthers are an absolute disappointment. The Falcons play good, but they're not a good team. You know, that makes sense. Like, they play well for like 3.5 quarters and end up finding a way to lose. That's the kind of team they are.
Right.
I think the Bucs know that they're playing with house money this season. They can still afford to lose a couple games like that. Not that they're going to go into this game like that, but the Chiefs have a lot riding into this game because they can't afford to lose games at any magnitude, no matter if it's an AFC or NFC opponent.
Yep.
I think the Chiefs go in there as focused they have been all season since at least week 1. I think they go in there and they score 27 points, and I think they hold the Bucs to 1 touchdown. I think the Bucs score 16 total, but they only get field goals. I think they're going to get 1 touchdown and a couple of field goals, but I think the Chiefs are going to be the ones that hold that ride the momentum of this game throughout. I think the Bucs offense is going to continue to struggle. I have no reason to believe they're going to turn it around against a tough Chiefs defense like they are, because this Chiefs defense is the best they've had in 6 years. I really believe this is the best defense they've had in the Patrick Mahomes era.
Which is a surprise, man, because I remember when we first started, talking about this in the offseason leading into the year, that there was going to be some mistakes in this defense and these rookies were going to let us down. It hasn't really been the case.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? McDuffie's down right now. That sucks, but I mean,
he was looking good.
This defense has hit the ground running.
Yes.
It's been the offense has kind of been a little underwhelming at points, and our defense has been so stout, and kudos to Spags.
Yes,
I just want to say
absolutely.
That. Kudos to Spags. He's got these
we
young
criticize
guys,
him.
He's got these young guys in the right place at the right time making plays. His defensive line is
He's
getting
adjusted.
there.
He's
Chris
adjusted.
Jones has been
like you got to give. You're right, Trevor. You got to give Spags credit here because we've known he's always been the guy that's been so stubborn and hell-bent on holding on to veterans. Like, well, Ben Neiman and Dan Sorensen, I know what I'm getting out of that, and they're just getting destroyed out there. Now he's got these young, more athletic guys, more impressionable guys that he's utilizing, and it's working. It's working.
L'Jarius Sneed looks like he's taking the next step. He's been great this year so far. Chris Jones is
through 3 games last year, Trevor.
Level.
Through 3 games last year, the Chiefs were giving up 32 points per game. We're giving up over 160 rushing yards. They gave up 7 total rushing touchdowns through 3 games last year. This year, they're giving up 86 rushing yards. They're only allowing 22 points per game. But again, that's context. We know the context to it. And they've only given up 1 rushing touchdown. Think about that.
We're getting pressure.
And they're playing an offense, and now they're playing an offense that can't run the ball.
Right.
So I think the Chiefs
are going to really try to.
They're going to try.
Lenny is dangerous, but
Nick
he's also
Bolton,
banged up.
We should have talked about Nick Bolton because I think he's going to be a massive
he's
factor
an every week
again.
guy, though. He's racking up
He's
tackles and making
unbelievable.
big plays. Yeah.
I think he's going to wreak havoc on that run defense. I think Chris Jones is going to make Tom Brady's life a living hell.
We failed to mention that play that he had against Jonathan Taylor last week. Jonathan Taylor tried to jump over the line. He's like, nope.
Just stop Jonathan Taylor.
Pushed him back.
Like, that's
that was
easy to do.
Incredible, dude.
Yeah, so I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. And again, I'm contextualizing it because if there's home cooking and we're getting horrific flags again, the Bucs could win this game.
Yeah.
But I think if it's called evenly, if it's called fairly, if Bill Vinovich decides to have a good game as a ref, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game handily. I think they win this game by 11 points. I'm going to pick the Chiefs wins 27-16, and we'll see how that prediction looks. Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly L's or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
All right, so all my Kansas residents and anybody who even lives outside of Kansas have to pay some respect to what the Jayhawks are doing in the football world right now. The 4-0 just came off a really impressive win against North Carolina. Game was a little closer than it looked. North Carolina came back a little bit towards the end, but KU was running that game the majority of it. 4-0, right? And they're making a splash in the football world and collegiate sports right now. They're tied for the best record in college football right now. But for some reason, both the coaches poll and the AP poll decided not to rank us yet. There's teams that I feel that are lesser than that are ranked right now. Granted, because they have a more notable name and they're a bigger school, so and they've been here and done that. Kansas is here. I know we're new here, but we're here nonetheless. We are 4-0, respectively. Right? I know we got some big games coming. We got a big one against Iowa State today. That's going to be a statement win if we go out there and pull that off. And I expect us to. I think we're the better team. I think we have more talent. It's nice, man. It's nice having KU football playing at this level. You know what I mean? If we get 8 wins this year, that's going to be. We're going to go nuts out here. So, but if we don't get ranked after this, if we win today and we're still not ranked, you can go look at Twitter, man. A lot of the talking heads in college football sports were all over Twitter. Were the word was cowards. Rank Kansas, you cowards. It was all over Twitter, and I love it. everyone outside of the actual polls are giving us our due. And I don't understand why there's no reason outside of us just being new here. But like I said, we're here nonetheless. You can't deny us. We're here. There's no reason to rank teams that are, in my mind, are lesser than. And they have less. Their records aren't as good, and so on and so forth. But for that, I just want to give, the quote unquote coaches poll and the AP poll. Regardless of how much credit you give those, I mean, you can watch the games for yourself and tell me what the product looks like, and it's been very impressive so far, and they have every reason to be ranked. And I think we'll make that statement after we beat Iowa State today. But for that, the coaches poll, AP poll for not ranking Kansas and being 4-0 and splashing onto the scene and being arguably the most impressive team in football so far as what the expectations were.
Yeah.
Do me a solid favor and
hold this L. So I do want to first and foremost say give out a W to a couple of people. One, I want to give a W to Tua Tagovailoa for fighting through this horrific event that he had, man. I don't know if you guys missed it. I can't imagine you have to this point, but Tua Tagovailoa suffered 2 gruesome head injuries over this last week, and he's fought through it, and he's already getting through concussion protocol, and I just want to give him and his family a W right now because I cannot imagine trying to put myself in that position. He's either him or a close family, relative, friend, whatever the case may be, teammate, because they have to,
able to play football again.
Yeah, they had to keep playing. They had to keep playing after that. When they're carting him off the field after that, he's doing the fencing posture where your hands just basically lock up. And it was horrible, and I'm just glad he's okay. So I wanted to put that out there because we haven't talked about it yet, and I figured that I might as well put it out here on the episode that we wish Tua the best, and I hope he can get back on the field.
Kudos to those Bengals fans. They're out there chanting his name.
Yeah.
That was pretty powerful.
That was pretty powerful, and I appreciate them as well. I also want to give out a W to a couple baseball legends, Albert Pujols and Aaron Judge, for both having historic milestones take place this month. We saw that Aaron Jones obviously hit 61, tying Roger Maris for the most in Yankees history and in AL history. I think he will break it. I think they have like 6 or 7 games left. I think he will get that to 62, and I really appreciate being alive while that happens because obviously we weren't around. Roger Maris did it. Yeah. It was cool to see his son there. I have a take on his son and what he had said afterward, but it's cool to see the handing, basically the passing of the torch, take place in front of you. And Albert Pujols obviously getting to 700 home runs and then getting to 701 last night. Yeah. Man, I think if he gets to like 702 or 703 before the season, if I'm the Cardinals, I ask him to come back for one more year and try to go after Babe Ruth because Babe Ruth's at 714.
Yeah,
Albert Pujols has had a really good season. He's gotten over 25 home runs this season at 41, 42 years old. Bring him back. The fans are going to love it.
DH him.
Baseball would love it to see him try to get Babe Ruth. Oh, my God. I mean, that would just be insane, man, to get Babe Ruth at number 3 all time. If I'm Albert Pujols, I do it, but I wanted to give those guys a W. I didn't like, and it's not even really an L, but Roger Maris' son, at the end of when they did the acceptance thing and they had the post game and all this other stuff, he was saying stuff about how this needs to be the real record in baseball history, that 61 should be the real record, and that baseball should do something about it. Roger, they have already done something about it. Nothing. Because it's a legitimate record what Barry Bonds has, what Sammy Sosa has done, what Mark McGwire did with the 60-plus home run seasons. If it isn't, then why are they still in the record books? Yes, baseball is hypocritical as fuck. Their writers are hypocritical as all get out. That they don't have these men in the Hall of Fame. But you can't tell the story of the game without Barry Bonds. You can't tell the story of the game without Mark McGwire. You can't tell the story without Sammy Sosa. Those guys are titans in the history of baseball. And it's hypocritical because, again, as I've said so many times on this show, baseball will sit here and crucify these guys and use them as a prop of grandstanding or moral high grounds or whatever the baseball wants to do. But yet they raked in billions of dollars off of these guys. And baseball had never been and never will be again as popular as it was in the time those guys were doing what they were doing. Barry Bonds is the greatest player in the history of baseball, whether people like that or not. He's also the greatest home run hitter in the history of baseball, whether people like it or not. So his records will stand. And baseball even knows that, as dumb as they are at times, they know that. So Roger Maris Jr., I appreciate you and everything, bro, but you might want to go have a seat because you're just making yourself look dumb in a moment that you should be praising Aaron Judge for what he's doing, not bringing attention, negative lights, and negative attention to something that didn't need that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Get out of the way, bro.
You don't got to bring someone else down
it's ridiculous.
To bring someone else up.
Where my L is going is about as obvious as it gets, and it's something Trevor briefly alluded to before, and I'm glad he let me have this platform and opportunity to do it because I'm going to do it. We all know that the paper industry, newspaper industry are all dying because we've moved to digital, we've moved to everything online. And so we know that we also live in a time when everything is about clicks. Everything is about saying something that's going to get people's attention. And it's gotten so bad that people now in both the newspaper industry and in the clickbait industry have gone so far as to sell their soul and their integrity for said clicks. And it hits right here in Kansas City. Therese Paylor, Sam Mellinger, Joel Poznansky, even Jason Whitlock led the way for the Kansas City Star for a long time. And they were the big fish in this very small pond for a very long time. In fact, as long as I can remember, the Kansas City Star was where you go to for great stories, breaking news, whatever the case may be when in the sports realm and here in Kansas City. You went to the Kansas City Star. And how far they have fallen so badly that yesterday at 5:40 a.m., which is not coincidental whatsoever, the Kansas City Star posted an opinion piece from some dipshit. I'm not going to give his credence or his name out, but he's from Illinois. They posted an opinion piece that has the caption, quote, "He's a great quarterback, sure, but he only cares about how he looks, not his team. The Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes always keeps his eye on what he cares about most, himself." And thanks to my guy, Real Bird Lawyer on Twitter, he posted, because he did the click for all of us, so we didn't have to do it. He has a little snippet, and it's not even a big, I think it's like 75 total words this guy puts into this damn thing. But this is the part that our guy, Real Bird Lawyer, put out there. This is the piece that everybody needs to pay attention to. In this article, it says, he puts the I in team. "After watching the Kansas City Chiefs for the past 2 years, I think it's clear that Patrick Mahomes is not a team player. He doesn't care if his team wins or loses. All he cares about is how he looks. It's beginning to look very obvious. He's a good quarterback, but really doesn't care about his team as a whole." Does anybody out there follow like The Onion or like Ballsack Sports or any of those like satire pages? Because that is literally what you would get out of that. Because those pages bank on something that is so ridiculously stupid. And we all know we can just sit back and put our heads back and laugh
Satire.
at. Because it's so much, it's clearly comedy. That is literally what this is. But no, the Kansas City Star decided to use this as actual journalism. And it's funny that they have guys after Brittany Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' wife, his agent, his father, his godfather, all these other people have come out and directly attacked this article. We have people on the editorial board of the Kansas City Star coming out and saying, well, it's just an opinion piece. Motherfucker. This is not something you should put on your platform because it is egregious, it is disgusting, and quite frankly, it is fucking dumb. Do I even really need to attack this? Do I really need to go into this and say why it's absolutely ridiculous that anybody would ever put this opinion out there? And if it's some jackass on Twitter or social media, no one's paying attention. But the once great Kansas City Star puts this on their platform, which means they're condoning this type of ignorance, this type of foolishness. And they're doing it for one fucking reason. To get clicks.
Desperation.
That's how bad it's gotten for the Kansas City Star, who used to have Therese Paylor, Sam Mellinger, Joel Poznansky. He used to have some of the greatest writers in all of American sports. And this is what it's come to. I want to play something in response to this article. Two things, actually, I want to play. Because it's important to me that we get this across. And it's important that people know what Patrick Mahomes truly is if they actually want to believe this bullshit. This is Patrick Mahomes after he accepts his MVP honors. And this is in 2018, by the way, after he won his MVP.
I'm truly honored to win the NFL's Most Valuable Player award. When you look at this award, you see the rich history that it has. You see guys like Elway and Favre, Manning and Brady and many more. And I'm so humbled that I can be sharing this prestigious honor with them. This season was special, and there was a lot of people that helped me get to this point. First, I just want to thank God, because without him, none of this would even be here. Next, I want to thank my family, my mom and dad, my brother and sister who aren't here, and my rock, Brittany, who keeps this show rolling every single day. I have to thank the Chiefs organization for believing in me, the Hunt family, Brett Veach, my coaches, Coach Reed, Coach Kafka, Coach Bieniemy, and most of all the players. I mean, they give me their all every single day, and this is an award for all of us. Thank you all. Last, I want to thank Chiefs Kingdom. Exactly. Your passion and love is unmatched. You're here no matter when and where. This is just the beginning. We have a long ways to go. Thank you.
I also want to play one more thing, and it's actually a lot shorter, but it's something else. This is after, because I'm playing stuff after Patrick Mahomes' greatest feats as an NFL player, and what the first words that are coming out of his mouth when he talks about these things. This is after Patrick Mahomes wins his first Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 54.
I mean, there's several guys that can be the face of the NFL. I mean, I think that's just with the NFL and how good the play is, the quarterback play. I mean, guys can come in year out and go out there and play great football. I mean, Lamar was the unanimous MVP last night, and he had one of the best seasons of all time as a quarterback position. And so there's guys like that, it seems like every single year, a lot of young quarterbacks, still a lot of veteran guys that are playing at a very high level. And so I just try to be the best Patrick Mahomes I can be and try to win football games with the guys I have around me.
This is after Patrick Mahomes wins his MVP. This is Patrick Mahomes after he wins a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. And he's talking about everybody but himself. And the only times he brings himself up is when he talks about being at his best for everybody else. And this is just the football side of it. Because this bullshit article attacked the man, attacked the character of the man. And I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but Patrick Mahomes has this foundation called the 15 of Mahomes. Why don't you go look that up and see how much money, how many millions of dollars that's raised for unfortunate lives, for children that have had unfortunate events and lives experiences in their early lives. Why don't you go look at how many times Patrick Mahomes is in the hospital visiting the cancer patients? And I'm not even trying to sit here and champion for Patrick Mahomes and try to make a case for him. I'm just stating the facts, since this jackass wants to make an opinion piece, and the Kansas City Star wants to promote that piece that only, like I said, is less than 100 words to get clicks. Full disclosure here, and I know the people that have been following know this, and they've seen some of the family members of Patrick Mahomes on this show. I know the Mahomes family very well. Trevor and I, we know them. And I don't say this just because I have a personal relationship with them. I say this because it's the truth. They are some of the best people I've ever met. They are kind. They are loving. I've been at Arrowhead with these people, and literally people are flocking to the Mahomes family, and they are gracious to every single person that comes towards them. That is not something you can just fake at all times. That shit would get old after a while, man. Even myself, as friendly and outgoing of a person I like to consider myself, I would get tired of it. And these people handle it with grace and with character and with love. And they've embraced this city. Like, Patrick Mahomes is everything we wanted on the field and off the field. This guy's a family man that never gets himself in trouble, never puts himself in harm's way, never puts his family or his franchise in a bad position and makes anybody look bad. This guy has only done the right thing. Even if I wasn't a Chiefs fan, even if he wasn't a Chief, I would be saying these things. Because it's the truth. And I am ashamed of a newspaper, once legendary newspaper that represented my city, to be this low, to be this disgusting. Fucking disgusting, man. And for that, because I've gone on enough, and more than I probably should, honestly, but I feel more justified about going off about this than anything else I've ever talked about on this show, because it is the most absurd shit we've ever had to acknowledge on this show. Kansas City Star, I hope you guys go away, man. I've never been one that wants to see people fail and lose things, but I cannot wait for the day that you are no longer a thing. You guys are a disgrace. Do me a solid, Kansas City Star, and hold this L.
It's pretty bad.
You know what's going to be
Pretty
bad?
bad.
The BUCS offense this week against the Chiefs defense.
How many picks?
That's what's going to be bad. I'm calling one.
Okay.
I'm calling one. Brady isn't a guy that throws he doesn't throw a ton of picks.
You said Eric Reed, right? Might get
Justin Reed. I'd say Justin Reed.
Say
Eric Reed was a safety too, so he was a good player. No, Justin Reed, I think is going to make that pick, but I'll be happy no matter who. Maybe it's Jalen Watson again. Watson, yes.
Hey.
Who knows, man? But regardless, I'm very confident the Chiefs are going to put week 3 behind them and go out there and have a definitive victory against the Buccaneers.
Got to.
And I think we're going to be feeling much better about ourselves, especially when you consider the fact that the Chiefs come back home in a primetime against a team that's considered their children in the Las Vegas Raiders. Good things are coming, guys. Good things are coming. We got a lot of good football ahead of us here in Kansas City, and it's just a great thing to be talking football regardless. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the show today. We got a lot to get to. If you've not already, like I said at the top of the show, I'll say at the bottom of the show, go ahead and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it, man. We're trying to grow that thing as much as we can. We also have our shirts out there as well. If you guys want to buy it, it's on all of our platforms. You can find them right there. All the links are on there. We have 2 shirts available right now. We will have more as the time goes on. But again, I appreciate all you guys for what you do already for us, and we continue to grow this thing. And we appreciate Starcade Media for allowing us to use their platforms and post our shows on there. Got some good shit going, guys. I hope you guys had fun today. For the missing Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo-Yo-Yo, who will be back this next week to talk Chiefs and Raiders. My guy Trevor Twidwell, for everything he brought today. He was playing a little bit sick today. He toughed it out, and he definitely brought his flu game, or as we like to call it, the MJ Bad Pizza out late gambling and drinking and smoking cigars all night game. We are appreciative of all you guys. For Clay Windler, that puts all this stuff together on the back end, as our producer. We can't do it without him. And for everybody else that puts this together, I am Lance Twidwell. Episode 186 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we're here for 187, we out of this bitch.
Later.